We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, actually, we're already live. What am I talking about? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Studio Live today and Ask Me Anything. We haven't done this one for a few weeks and I was feeling lazy. No, we had a few schedule changes that had to then change back because of various reasons. We'll probably talk about them. I'll probably rant about some of the challenges of the last 4 days because it's been a wild ride here in Adelaide, South Australia. I'll tell you all about it in a little bit of time. But firstly, g'day to the folks who are here live. If you have a question live, I'm testing out something new today, and you will be my guinea pigs. So if you would like to test out the new form, there is a form which I have linked down in the description and in the pinned comment of this video, and you can use that to actually ask your question. Through the show, I'll work out how to pin a comment at the top of the live chat for the question as well, or maybe Jade can figure that out. Can we pin a comment up there, Jade? Jade's thrown it there in the chat at the moment. So if you do have a question, try and do that. Let's say g'day to people because this is our nice casual show. We can just say g'day to people and spend a few minutes. Fallen's here. Hello. Have I ever heard of Lil Peep or that? No, I haven't. So you can tell me all about them. G'day to Jade. G'day to Dane. G'day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening in Farction, which I always say incorrectly. G'day to Mark, to Andy, to Scott, to Tom, to Cody, to this guy here, Pete Johns. Don't know who that is. Hello to John Frank Songs. Who have I missed? Gary Hubbs in the house. Nina, g'day to you. Hello to you all. Cupcake makey. Oh, I like to. Could you make me some cupcakes? That'd be cool. Don't think I have the power to pin it. That's all right. I'll see if I can work it out through the show as we go. But for now, it's just there in the pinned comment down below. It's in the description, so there's plenty of places. It's over on the Create, Record, Release Facebook group. I've put the link everywhere. So get in there and test it out. And Auntie G, did I miss you? G'day to you. Hope you're doing well. And Spot 11. So, yeah, we've got a few things. I've got a few rant topics and I've got a few questions that have been sort of pre-sent to me. And we have the most important part is the live stuff. So the live question form that you can fill out. So I was just responding to a comment and I realized I opened my phone. I was halfway through a snarky response to Patrick, who I did an interview with Jakob Hack yesterday, which was awesome. He's a fantastic guy and a great creator. And Patrick made a comment, said, fantastic interviews and valuable advice and ideas for in this conversation. Speaking of which, I'm proud to announce I'm creating a brand new and completely original Guitar Looper app. So, yeah, I jokingly was talking with Jakob about the fact that I've always wanted to make an app. And he's kind of inspired me because I'm like, we can do this. I can get a developer and then like make them do my bidding. not quite, but I can get myself my own app. And the idea I've had for a long time, I'm going to share because ideas are abundant. Here's the thing: people are terrified. We'll talk about copyright later. Actually, I'll add that to our list of copyright because I'm getting a heap of questions about that, and I've been asking questions about it too. But the thing is, ideas are abundant. I just throw everything out there. I don't have the time or the energy to do it all anyway. And if I have an idea and then someone else takes it and puts the effort in and the work in to turn it into something cool, then that's good. It's something new in the world. So I think a lot of folks get caught up on this whole, you got to clutch everything and hold it to yourself and not share and not put things out there. Put it out there into the universe and see what happens, I reckon. G'day to Sion, who's here. You ever just scream out of key? Yes. There's a great. I'm going to go off on weird tangents today, but Tim Minchin, who's a fantastic Australian performer and musician, composer, he wrote the Matilda musical. He's just super talented dude. He did a live concert this week. So by live concert, I mean pre-recorded concert in front of like 20 people, but then he actually shared that and sold tickets to it, and you could attend it live. So Georgie and I did that, and it was amazing. It was awesome. And he didn't play this song because it was all of his new album, but he has a song where he talks about how he likes to play in F but sing in F sharp. And look it up, it's really cool. He's like, my fingers like to play in F and I like to sing in F sharp. And he has to just continually sing sharp. So anyway, hello. If it is your first time watching, please let me know. So Doug Wolf, I'm not sure that you've been here before. Hello to you. And Mr. Hang on, Methor63, first time watching. G'day, good to have you on board. We will get in. I'm gonna jump in to the new form and see if anyone has posted a question apart from me. Oh, we do. There you go. We have 12 responses, and only 2 of those were actually me. So I did some questions here. My first one was, how many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? And of course, the answer is 3. No, wait, 4. Let me just see. I don't think I'll use the whole sharing it over here because that could get pretty risky. Because depending how nicely people behave, whether I should pop it on the screen here. Plus, the Google Forms don't exactly look super nice. Let's just try it. So we'll go here to the first question that is not me. There you go. It doesn't look too bad. So, all right, we'll try this. We'll try again, a bit experimental today. So we'll just see if it makes sense to put it on the screen. Otherwise, I think I'll just be reading them out. So if we do this, do the share screen thing, boom. There we go. Yeah, okay, it puts it there. Probably don't need to put it up there like that though, but we'll see how we go. What's Infarction saying here? The question is confusing because it says your question and then has a field that says your answer, which is you're meant to type your question. Go figure. That is interesting, isn't it? That is really cool. But really, yeah, it's quite confusing because it's supposed to be like a questionnaire. So it's your answer, but in this case, your answer is your question, right? It's kind of that matrix thing. A little bit weird there. But let's answer this one from Cody. I don't think we need to have the screen up like that. It looks a bit weird. Question is, how do you know when you're saving too many versions of a song, and how do you keep all your music files organized and backed up? Oh, need to take a breath before this one because that is a great question. So version control, how do you know when you're saving too many versions of a song? Now, and hello to Patrick, who's from the GarageBand Guide, who's just jumped in. He was just talking about you, Patrick, and your great original new idea for a guitar loop app. And I got sidetracked on that, but we'll spin back around to that, don't worry. But yeah, the question here around version control. So I create as many versions as I feel necessary. And I know that's a weird answer to say. It's not a direct answer, but in a given project, I probably get up to about version 10 in total. So what I tend to do is I'll record a couple of scratch tracks. I'll then create a version 2 and start adding in the additional tracks, doing arrangements, starting a bit of the mix. Version 3 is usually where I'm recording like actual vocals and guitars and things. Version 4 is usually like my first crack at a bit of a rough mix. Version 5, like a more polished kind of mix. Version 6 might be a little bit of additional like overdubs and things that I'm adding in. Version 7 may be a more final mix. Version 8 may be the final mix. So it really does depend, and it depends project by project. So yeah, usually it's anywhere between 6 to 7 up to, I think the project with the most versions that I had was about 12, 12 different versions. Because basically, whenever you're making a fundamental change to the project, whenever you're doing something that you're not sure about. So that's why I say at each of those pivotal points, going from demo to like sort of rough draft out of your song to kind of having the song recorded to having the song mixed. Like if you go in and do a bunch of mixing, and then you're like, oh, I don't really want this. I mean, mixing's not so bad because you can undo a lot of your mixing things. But if you're recording ideas, and especially if you're deleting things out, you want to make sure that before you do any big change that you make a copy of your project. So that's how I do it. And how do I keep my music files organized and backed up? So I've talked about this before. Should I show this? It's not in great condition at the moment, actually. It's quite embarrassing. But basically, I'll explain it. Maybe we'll show my screen in some future answers. But yeah, what I generally do is I have different folders. So I have an ideas folder, I have an in progress folder, and I have a complete folder. And then I put my songs in there. So when I'm working on like an album and I've got, say, 5, or an EP, I've got 5 songs, I'll have my ideas folder. I'll be putting my ideas in there. When they become in progress, I put them in my in progress folder in individual folders for each song, so that when there's version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, each song has its own folder with its location. When I've got my complete version, I put the final version into the complete folder. And then sometimes I keep the old drafts. It depends. Sometimes I just go, no, I'll never need those again. And then that's it. They live in there as one project file in the complete folder. So that's the way I do it. Different people do it different ways, but hopefully that helps out. Let me know. What do you do though? Let me know if you're here in the chat. What do you do when you're doing this sort of thing? Righty. So Jade Star says, so I eventually got to buy my new Mac M1. Hopefully it will be here next week. Yeah, so why don't we, I'll jump in and talk about that in a minute because it's in my list of things to talk about, and I teased it on yesterday's show, but first a little coffee. I did tease it during yesterday's Your Music live show, but I'm on a new Mac. We'll talk about that in a minute. Have I said? I'll just make sure I said g'day to everyone else who is here. So, Michael Cortez, hello and goodbye. We'll see you around. Carl TV, g'day to you. Alex Smith, thanks for being here. Benedict Stewart, Timothy is in the house. Hello to She Nominee. Thank you. Question from Timothy. Has anyone got an iOS Looper app that would be great for live looping performance? I don't, but the person who is great with looping stuff is John. Oh, man. Now, I'm really bad with the names at the moment. I'll try and remember his name. I interviewed here JP Music, JP Music UK, John Paul Music UK, does a lot of looping stuff and had some recommendations for looping apps. But if anyone else has any other, I don't use looping a lot. Maybe that's why I need to make my own app. I'll talk more about that later. Who else do we have here? I did see another couple of folks sneak in. We've got Deep Gravity in the house. I hope you're enjoying some breakfast and some coffee first thing in the morning. Hey to Ralphie, g'day to you. Hello to Tom, g'day to you. And Alex Baccus. The Audio Kit Looper was just on sale. There you go. Audio Kit make great gear. That might be a good one to go with. Pete in his red shirt. Beat Google Docs any day. Sure. Okay. I'm always wearing a red shirt. I like my red. Alrighty. Let's go to talk about my Mac. So Jade's talking here that she's buying a Mac as well, and I think was it Patrick in here? He said he's had the finger over the buy button quite a few times. Yeah, there you go. My finger has been hovering over the buy button a few times in the last few days. Mine did too, Patrick. And then because we've been locked down here in Adelaide for the last, this is day 4 and the final day of 6, which is weird. Don't worry, we'll talk about that later. I just bought it. I just went for it. I had a look and I'm like, I'll check my Studio Live Today fund that exists because of all you fine folks and the support you give me here on the channel. And it had just enough for the entry level. So what I went with is the base Mac Mini. So I went with the absolute bottom of the line Mac Mini. And the reason I did that was A, I'm cheap and I didn't want to spend more than $1,000. And B, I thought it would be a good test because, yeah, if I went and tricked out and got 16 gigabyte of RAM and 2 gigabytes of storage and did all the things and got the MacBook Pro, that wouldn't be a really good real world test because not everyone's going to go out and buy a MacBook Pro. So what I bought was, I'll show you what I bought. It is the new Mac Mini. If we come here, it looks like this. Ooh, Mac Mini, new guts. And it is my first ever Mac that I've owned. I've used Macs. I've used Macs in workplaces and in schools and educational places, but I've never actually owned a Mac. So, yes, it will be a revolution for Pete. But yeah, this is the Mac Mini. And if we go to the buy, you'll see what I paid here in Australian dollar bucks. It's not as cheap. It's not $699. It's $1,099. So this is the one I'm going with. It's the M1 chip, the 8-core CPU and GPU, 256 gigabytes of storage, and the 8 gigabytes of unified memory, which puts me in a weird position that my iPad is going to have more storage than my computer, than my Mac. So that's a little bit strange. But I don't plan on. I'm so in the cloud now. I don't have big apps that I install on things anymore. Most things I do, streaming, I'm sitting here in a Chrome tab, streaming into StreamYard. So I'm not in a position where I need to have a lot of stuff and a lot of apps and a lot of storage and even a lot of data files because, again, I don't know. Tell me if you're the same with this now, but apart from my projects, and probably to answer the second part of Cody's question, once I've got too much stuff stored, I use either iCloud Drive to store it. I've got the $15 a month plan, so I get 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, so that's where a lot of my stuff sits, or I use things like Google Drive and Dropbox and OneDrive, so all the cloud storage, plus I have I have USB drives that I store a lot of things on if they're not essential. But yeah, I don't tend to have, like, there was a time where I'd buy terabyte after terabyte of storage because I'd be putting all my definitely legitimately acquired media files on there. But everything's streaming now. Like, what? We don't need the storage. That's my view anyway. Question from Darren. Oh, no, it's too early, mate. 2 trains are traveling 60 miles per hour, one from Chicago, one from LA. Don't catch trains in Chicago or LA right now, would be my view. Make sure you're wearing your mask. Hashtag put the mask on your face, as Tom Rochelle says. Let's continue on here because we got a bunch of questions. Yeah, I know. One of us. I've joined you and become one of you. All right, we've got the questions are piling in here, so let's continue on. How's the new form going? Apart from the fact that the question, the answer you have to put in is under the question. Hopefully, it's working well. Um, Ed says, I think the first draft needs to be as crazy and as unrestricted as possible. Allow creative flow. Yeah, absolutely. And Jade says, I watched a video yesterday of using a base modern Mac Mini using Final Touch 4K video under lots of pressure, and it was smooth as butter. And that's what I'm thinking. You'll find out. We'll all find out on Monday. It's scheduled. It's coming on Monday. So yeah, that'll be cool. All right, question from Dane. G'day, Dane. If I use free for profit beats, will people listen to my music? If I use free for profit beats, will people listen to my music? Depends what you do with them, to be honest. So if it's a free beat you're using, free loops, free samples, there's heaps of them. I like freesound.org. There's a lot of cool sounds there, but there's a heap of places. Number one rule of using sounds is check what license that they're released under. If they're under Creative Commons, commercial use, no attribution, go your hardest. Use them, create with them, chop them up, do whatever you need to do. If they're Creative Commons with attribution, make sure that you give attribution to the person that created the sample. People putting their hard work in, and all you need to do is just put their name in your description or in your metadata. Do it. But if they are commercial samples, or if they're Creative Commons with no commercial use, then you can't use them at all. Will people listen to them? Well, yeah, if you do something cool and creative with them, absolutely they will. If you want to use loops, if you want to use samples, I'm all for it. I think that there's creative ways to use content that other people have created. If someone came to me and said, in fact, people have said to me, can I remix your song? I say, sure, here it is. If someone says to me, can I sample a part of your song and then mix it up into my song and make something cool and new? I say, yeah, for sure, go for it. There's most artists, not all, but most artists are actually pretty chuffed. I asked a question. I'll go off on a bit of a tangent here, but I asked a question about copyright. Do you copyright your songs? And it was about 50-50 of people that said, yes, I copyright my songs, to people that said, no, I just do my thing and release it. And a lot of the comments I got from folks, and I feel this way too, maybe we're naive. Maybe one day some big famous producer is going to steal our stuff and we're going to be left in the gutter. I don't know. But my view is that I would be kind of chuffed. I would be like humbled if someone thought my stuff was good enough to use or to reuse in their track. That's always been the way that I've thought about it. Again, that may be naive, but I think I see a lot of people get really worried. They spend a lot of time trying to protect their music. And it's the same, as I said before, with ideas. They spend a lot of time trying to protect their music, protect their ideas, protect their intellectual property. And look, it's important. I get it. You don't want to do all the work and then have someone else get all the glory or get all the gains from it. But at the same time, you got to look at the law of averages here. Like, how much time should you spend for the 0.01% chance that someone's going to come and try and shaft you and take your stuff or take your ideas? I think you're better off just pushing all that energy, all of that time, all that effort into creating music. But that's just me. Maybe you've got a different view. Let me know what you think. Alex says, since it's an AMA, how's your sabbatical going, Pete? It's going amazingly well. For those that don't know, I've been out of the corporate world for coming up 7 weeks now, not that I'm counting. And I've just been walking around with a smile on my face, because this is what I was doing before. I was working a full-time job, so I was working 40 hours a week, and I was putting probably 40 hours per week into Studio Live today. So doing 80-hour weeks, which isn't super sustainable, but I was doing that because I wanted to build up the community. I wanted to build up Studio Live today as a viable future, and then eventually my goal was to no longer work the full-time job and just do Studio Live today. An opportunity came up for me to exit from my job, from the corporate world, so I took it. And yeah, some people said that I was crazy because look at the time, look at the environment, look at the world. It's not exactly the best time to not have security, but what is security after all? Like, nothing is secure. And I think the mindset of I'm staying in this corporate job that I don't really, not that I don't like, but it wasn't for me. Like, I'd done it. It had reached its use by date, and I'm sure people can relate to that. It had passed its use by date. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't like really keen on it. So it had reached that point. And that's something that I think a lot of people are probably in the same position as. But yeah, look, and I'm not going to say, sometimes you just have to do it. Like the reason that I hadn't left earlier is that, yeah, you got mortgage, you got bills to pay, you got families to feed, so all of that sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of how it's actually going for me, yeah, it's beautiful. Despite the fact of the challenges of 2020 and particular challenges in here in South Australia the last few days, yeah, I've been saying, I keep walking around just going, like that. And my wife keeps saying, "Oh, you've just been sighing like that. What's up?" And I'm like, it's just coming down. It's just the tension relief that's continually happening. I didn't realize quite how wound up and how stressed I was until I wasn't doing it anymore. So thanks for the question. And yes, it is going very well. And yeah, it has been super cool. So thank you. Let's jump back over. Yes, please do remember to smash like. Smash that like. Hang on, let me just let me embrace my proper YouTuber. Hey guys, don't forget to smash like and subscribe. And I don't even know what they say anymore. I'm sorry. Check out my new TikTok. Buy some merch. I can't do it. Sorry. G'day, Jack. How are you doing? G'day, Desolate Mourning. Hope you are all doing well. Mark says, I get you. Stayed in a dreadful job 35 years. Felt darn good to retire. Yeah, I can feel you. I can hear you. Let's jump into the next question, shall we? Question number 5. Andy Goldsby. G'day, Andy. Really just testing a new form, people. While I'm here, if you had to choose Strat or Telly, mate, so here's the thing. I want a Telly, and I want a Telly really badly. And I'm not buying a Telly. The reason I'm not buying a Telly is, and by the way, for non-guitar people, Stratocaster, Telecaster. Stratocasters are the more sort of classic guitar shape. If most people think of electric guitar, it's a Stratocaster or a Strat copy, which is that. I can't really explain the shape, but yeah, look it up. The Stratocaster. Telecaster is a single coil pickup guitar that's sort of more of a rounded look, different sort of body shape. The reason I'm not buying one is that I just bought a Mac. So I looked around my room. I saw that I have 2 electric guitars and a bass guitar there. I have 2 acoustic guitars sitting there. I have one crappy 12-year-old PC that craps out when I try to stream video on my Your Music live show every week. So it was unfortunately a necessity thing over a what I'd like to have. So because it was both, like I was looking around at Telecasters that were around the $1,000 to $1,500 mark, and I was looking around at computers that were at the $1,000 to $1,500 mark. And when the Mac M1 was announced, the Mac Mini was $1,100. It became a no-brainer that's where my investment needed to go. That's where my money had to go, was to actually buy the new computer instead of the new guitar. But a good question. What would you buy? Guitarists out there, what's your next guitar? It's always a fun question. Or what's your dream guitar? I don't even know what my dream guitar is. Probably a vintage Gibson Les Paul. I've got an Epiphone Les Paul copy, and I really love it. Love the big heavy body, love the humbucker pickups, love the feel of it. It just feels good to play. And yeah, I think a vintage Gibson from like the 60s, like an actual Les Paul, would be awesome. Anyway, Strats are wonderfully ergonomic. Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, Strats do feel beautiful to play as well. And yeah, they are ergonometric, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I do like a good Stratocaster. And with the whammy bar, you can rock out. When you first started playing guitar, or when I did anyway, yeah, how much do you just want to go, you just want to play random lead riffs and shred and use your whammy bar. And then you realize that very little real music actually uses the whammy bar very much at all. Timothy says a Squire Classic Vibe Vintage White Telecaster 399. And that's the thing, mate. That's probably where I'm going to go. In 2021, so once another couple of months we get through the end of this year, we see where we're at. We see how much is in the Studio Live Today Gear Fund, and then we see what we get. But it may be that I pare down and I get up. I'm not someone that's going to say, oh, it has to be a real. No, Squires are great, and Epiphones are great. Like the lower level stuff, even the artist guitars. So Jade put me onto artist guitars. That's very tempting. They're about, what, $279, $299? Really nice guitars. Really, really well priced. Good question. Got me talking guitars. And Andy says, for the record, I'm a Telly guy. Nice one. And Desolate Mourning, not a shredder. Yeah, look, shredding has its place. It's fine. But, if you've been buying guitars, who hasn't been in the guitar shop with that dude that's like, he's in his 40s or 50s, got the long hair, and you can tell his job is kind of going to guitar shops and shredding on guitars. Like, that's what it seems like. There's always a dude sitting on a stool in the corner of a guitar shop just shredding, slightly louder than he needs to be. and kind of occasionally glancing around to see if anyone's watching. That's my view anyway. Alrighty. Tim Thompson says, just took delivery of a new Epiphone Les Paul Muse. Loving it, and it's inspiring me to work on improving my playing. Excellent. Love the Epiphone Les Pauls. There's one sitting right there, and I want to play it. I'm going to play it today. Alrighty, let's go to our next question, shall we? I like this form. It makes it easy. I'm way lower stress. I'm testing this because I'm going to use the form for Home Studio Q&A tomorrow. It means that people can ask questions before the show if they're not there live, and it means that we can get through more questions more quickly because I'm not scrolling up and down trying to find things in the form. So let me know if you think it's working well or any feedback you have. Apart from Infarction saying that, yeah, you have to put answer where your question is, but I don't know if there's a way I can tweak that in the form. We'll find out. Andy, another question. Serious question. Where do you start with your songwriting? That's a good question, and I'm going to throw it out to everyone here. So give me your live answers. Where do you start with your songwriting? What do you usually start with? For me, it is usually a chord progression, and I'm going to say this because I want an excuse. Because it's a random show, I always like an excuse to play guitar, right? So most of my songs start on acoustic, especially lately. So most of the time, I'm playing acoustic song. This isn't plugged in, so you're not going to hear it super well. So, for instance, one of my more recent songs, like the process that I went through, I had this riff in my head for the longest time. It doesn't do that. So usually that's what I get. I'm like, oh, that's a cool riff. How do I work that in? I'm just like, okay, well, we're working around a D chord. So what else am I going to do? So I just sort of worked around. I'm like, okay, if I'm playing around a D chord, then there's going to be a bit of an E, a resolve, and an A in there. Because who doesn't like playing when you're using they're the first three chords everyone learns, yeah? And because I'm addicted to B minor 7, I like to throw a B minor 7 in there. So it's usually starting with something like that, where I just have a progression, which is the start of the idea, and then I move it from there. The lyric writing is a bit weird because I don't sort of sit down, very rarely do I sit down and say, I'm writing this song about this. Normally, I get an idea in my head. So that song was, I'm running just as fast as I can, and I'm like, oh, that's the hook. That's what I want to put in there. Oh, maybe this song can be about how, expectations are high and you're trying hard and you're running fast and you're doing things. So the ideas of this, I don't sit down and go, I'm writing a song about peace and then do it that way. It's normally chord progression, hook idea or one line that goes around in my head that then populates out what the lyrics are going to be, that then creates the song. And then things like bass and drums and other instruments and arrangement parts always come later. Very occasionally I'll sit down at the piano. So I've done a couple of songs so things have changed. A song that I did recently, I started on the piano. The song called Be Cool started with that piano riff. So it started with a blues riff that I was just jamming on the piano. But most part, it's grabbing the guitar. So, and just doing that. Yes, it's Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. Who didn't play Gloria? So Dane starts with the lyrics. There you go. Tom Rochelle. I start with lyrics and drums most of the time. Lyrics for me. Jade says I've always started on guitar, but lately more bass. Yeah, cool. I start with a melody in my head, says Sion. Turn into chords or a beat if I'm live looping. Jack Smith says sometimes a beat. A riff usually. Yeah, so it depends. It changes up here. Andy Goldsby says, always a hook for me. Strangely, the chorus comes last. Yeah, sometimes I write verse. I write 5 verses, and I still haven't got a chorus because, for me, that does come last at times as well. Mark says I start with whatever pops into my head and build from there. Yeah. Kim says I start with whatever comes to me first as well, usually lyrics. I keep a list of lyrics that I think should be cool in my phone, and if I follow a theme, bam, song idea. Love it. Yes, that is a good idea. Patrick from GarageBand Guide, a riff definitely. Spot 11, I usually come up with some kind of hook and then write around it. Absolutely. And all are valid. That's the thing. I start with a full track. I just write it. I just start with everything. But yeah, and look, some people will do that. They'll start with a template of all of your tracks and then you populate them out. I've known folks that do that. Here's the thing. They're all right. They're not only are they all right, they're all right because whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat, whatever's going to get you the best results, that is what you can do. That's what I suggest. Let's go to our next question. If you're just joining us live here, there is a link in the description and in the pinned comment. And Jade will probably pop it down there again at some stage soon if you want to ask a question. We do have a bunch here already, so let's continue on. Hello, Fallen. What are your thoughts on about someone having to use headphone microphones to sing because they don't have any recording stuff? I think those that have been around here for a while know that my mantra is create, record, release, and use the gear you have. And an example of that is that these headphones, I can't put them in because I'm wearing headphones. These are the JBL Endurance Run headphones. They are a TRRS headphone, which means they'll plug into any headphone socket and they will have a microphone on there and stereo audio. So this microphone, look at that. It's a little tiny mic. You can't even see it in the camera there. It's a little tiny pinhole microphone that goes on here. I've used this to record backing vocals. I've used this to record spoken word, to record audio for my videos, and it sounds good. That's the thing. It sounds not only good enough, but it actually sounds good. Like I went out and it was funny. And on one of my songs, I was recording backing vocals and I recorded them as I was walking around. And then I got back to the studio and I sat down with my AT2020 and my interface and tried to record them. They just sounded too processed. They sounded too upfront and present. So I grabbed this. I went into the walk-in robe over there, the closet, and I just made sure the noise was really low. I put these about here so that I wasn't like spitting into the microphone, and I sang my backing vocals. And there was something about the high range response of this little microphone that made my backing vocals just really sparkle and pop. And that's testament to the fact that you can use what you have. I've also used the built-in microphone in my iPhones and iPads because these are pretty darn good as well. I did a whole video where I showed using the built-in microphone to record audio, and it sounds good. It sounds really good. The only secret there is don't use a headset that has a microphone. That will replace the mic of your iPhone or iPad. You just need to buy yourself a cheap pair, $10 earbuds on eBay, just a cheap pair of headphones that don't have a mic. Most headphones that are sold these days do have a microphone built in, but you'll need one that doesn't if you want to use your built-in ones. Alex says, I'm wearing these headphones right now. Beautiful. Yeah, I've been recommending them for a long time. They're the perfect balance. Look, they won't last you forever. This is probably my 5th pair in about 3 years, but I'm a heavy user. I use these for hours a day. But yeah, they are just the best balance. They're not super bass heavy. They're kind of flat in the response. So if you love your bass, they're not for you, but they've got a nice shape on there. They fit in the ear nicely. And the microphone on here, forget about your calls and your spoken word and your video recording, sounds great. But even things musical can actually sound pretty good there using that one. All right, let's have some coffee. So, Fallen, to answer your question, yeah, absolutely 100%. And Dan Baker is the king of using what you got. I did a song called Things Change. Dan Baker recorded the violin on that, and it sounds ridiculously good. In fact, why don't we, in case you haven't heard the song, again, this is going to be a bit self-serving, but it was so good. And the reason I'm going to play this is that it's not about me, it's about the one and only Dan Baker. But if I just find Things Change, we'll come over to here. So just take a listen. Is that the right one? Yeah. Take a listen to the violin at the start of this tune. It is amazingly good. This is recorded with an iPhone microphone, the violin in this one. Let's take a listen to it. It's a common misconception. Right? How good is that? So, yeah, Dan Baker on violin. And he recorded like 4 violins. If you hear the chorus of this song, there's 4 violin parts. It sounds like a string quartet playing along with my song. Like, seriously, it was next level cool. So, yeah, thank you to Dan Baker. I will continue singing his praises because I didn't pay him for that. My payment to you, Dan, is that I will continue singing your praises and say how well you did with that. Yeah, love Dan Baker. You gotta love you some Dan Baker. And yeah, lots of truth in that song. Yeah, that's excuse me, sorry. That song has been going through my head in especially this year because it is the chorus of it is the only thing that doesn't change is that things will change. And yeah. Truer words have never been said. One of the lyrics that I'm more proud of. I'm not often that proud of my lyrics, but yeah, that's what I am. Dan's unearthed some amazing free apps lately. Yeah, he has. Like, definitely go subscribe to Dan Baker. Go get on it right now. Dan Baker is the man, and as Patrick here, Dan Baker's iPad only recordings are fantastic. The quality gets out of his voice recording through the built-in mics on his iPad iPhone is amazing. Yeah, he does vocals just through the built-in mic, and it's ridiculous. When he was doing his song a day lockdown challenge, yeah, sometimes he was using microphones and other gear, but sometimes he was just using the built-in mic, and it was sounding outstanding. Ridiculousness. Alrighty, let's continue on. We've got more questions. You got questions? I've got attempted answers. I'm waiting for someone like Patrick to put a cheeky question in here, like, how do you get your beer to have that extra little grey bits in there? Age and stress. Mark, hello to you, Mark, bro. Very good supporter of the channel. I'm currently healing a shoulder injury which prevents me from playing guitar. Any tip on staying healthy in that regard? Oh, yeah, it is tough. Like, we as musicians don't tend to look after ourselves as best we should. I got about 10 kgs of COVID that I need to remove in the coming months because I've let myself eat and drink a little too much and be a little too merry in the last few months. But yeah, it is a tough thing to stay healthy. I think for mental and physical health, it is about taking breaks. Like, I think the key thing that we do a lot and that we do too much is when you're in that creative flow, the temptation is to keep doing it. And hands up who's had like a 4-hour session just because the mind and the body and everything was just flowing so creatively and you thought it was amazing, and then you get to the end of it and you are so drained and you are so sore that you go to bed, you get up the next day, you can barely move. Like, that's not good. Overdoing it, I think, is the key. And especially as we age, I'm now in my 40s and I'm feeling it a little more, that taking regular break, whatever you're doing, I think taking regular breaks is a good idea. I try to go with a 5 minute per hour break, which means you stand up, you walk, you stretch. I've got the Fitbit, so my practical tip is get a Fitbit because it tracks your steps, and every hour that you don't do 250 steps with 10 minutes to go, it buzzes. So you've probably heard me say, I was like, oh, my Fitbit wants me to get up. When I'm doing this show, I don't move for 2 hours. So yeah, it's a little bit hard to do that, but then I get up and go for a walk for a couple of hours. But in general work, where I'm not on camera, yeah, every hour, getting up, spending 5 minutes. It does a few things. It stretches out everything. You can move around. You're not in the weird positions that you're in playing guitar or doing things. It refreshes the mind. It gives your ears a break because your ears need to have some rest time too. And then you can usually come back refreshed. So whether it's 5 minutes every hour, some people do 10 minutes every 2 hours. But don't overdo it. Basically, try to have, even if you have to set an alarm, like set a timer. So you just go to your phone, you say, set a timer for 50 minutes. You do 50 minutes of recording, mixing, mastering, whatever you're doing, and then take a break. Walk around outside, or if you can't walk around outside, I've got an island kitchen. So not a kitchen on an island, but an island in the middle of my kitchen. Every hour, I just go and do laps of that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And yeah, yes, sometimes I'm looking at my phone and that's a bad habit. I shouldn't do that. But usually I'll just listen to music or a podcast or a video and just take a break and go laps of the island and then come back and sit back down here. And it's amazing how you can come back and you can go, I just had a really good idea for blah. Like you don't get stuck in that zone. So that's my thoughts on that. What do you do though? For those that are watching here live, how do you pace yourself as it is? How do you pace yourself, and how do you manage the physical, the mental, and everything else? Let me know. But good question, and it is, your mental health and your physical health is super important. Like, yes, I talk about create, record, release. I do occasionally go on rants about creativity, psychology and all that sort of thing. And yeah, maybe I should do more of that to encourage folks to look after themselves. Because you have unlimited retries when it comes to making music, and you have all the time. But yeah, if you're doing things that are going to be damaging to you long term. And again, I'm not saying I'm holier than thou. I do the wrong thing all the time. So, but I try to actually take breaks. It works well. Jade Star says, is this question thing working? Yes, it is, Jade. Well done. You've succeeded and tested the form. Yeah, my second question was from like Brian McGee and something up, which was, again, my test. G'day to Brian Clark, Infarction here in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. What should I do? I've been releasing music for 1 year under the name Duty Free, but had to abandon it due to some others who have been using it for much longer. I should bring this over here, shouldn't I? I'm looking off camera. I'm like, well, come up. Been using it much longer. So I adopted the new name Infarction. My previous releases were done using Amuse's free service, which only allows one artist name. To start releasing via Amuse with my new name, I need to buy the Amuse Pro service. But if I switch to DistroKid for my new name, the subscription may be less expensive, but are there hidden add-on charges I hear? What would Pete do in my shoes? Really good question. And yeah, the distributing and what you do with your distribution is a tough one. So I'm in a similar position, I guess. So I used Amuse Free for Fear Cut to release 3 songs. So there's 3 songs I've released under Fear Cut using Amuse. I have considered bringing those over to DistroKid. So what I would need to do if I wanted to go to DistroKid with those, I've got the DistroKid Musician Plus plan, so I've still got a second artist that I haven't used. What I could do is remove those songs from Amuse, make sure they're all completely out of stores, grab the ISRC numbers if I can, because that can help me link it back, and then re-upload those using DistroKid. And the only real problem you're going to have there with the name change thing is that some of the stores may pick up on that, and they want to stop people re-releasing songs. So what's happening at the moment is a lot of people are trying to get on Spotify playlists. They're trying to get played, like they're trying to get famous, basically. They're trying to get exposure. So they'll release a song, and then if it doesn't pop, they'll take it down and try and release it again. The stores got completely jack of this and said, no, we're going to stop you re-releasing the exact same song again. And even what then happened is that artists changed their name and tried to release the exact same song again with a new name, and they said, no, we won't be doing that again either. So you may run across a problem like that. If it's completely removed and you're just re-uploading it once under a new name, you'll probably be okay, especially from a different distributor. But the other option is you can still use Amuse Free. They probably wouldn't condone this, but you could, if you have a second email address, you could create a brand new Amuse Free account under Infarction and release your songs under Infarction. Take them down from the old one and then have a new Amuse Free. I'm pretty sure in their terms of service it would say something like, technically you can't have 2 accounts, but it's a new artist. So yeah, I would consider that, going with that. Yeah, so, and Infarction says, thank you for your insightful answer. I was planning to leave my duty-free songs alone under that name. My question was for future songs. Yeah, so for future songs, yeah, either create a brand new Amuse Free account if you don't want the confusion of taking them down and re-releasing, which is probably a good idea, and then create that as Infarction. I mean, I won't say I'm biased, but I've used DistroKid for so long, and I love DistroKid. In terms of hidden fees, there aren't any. The $19.99 per year, the only sort of hidden fees is, and I did a video about this a week ago, if you want to update to the Musician Plus account, if you want to do things like your label name, specify release dates, pre-orders, all that sort of thing, then you need to go up to $35.99 per year, which is the Musician Plus account. But the $19.99 plan is actually pretty cool. And it's only if you wanted to add things like YouTube Content ID, which I don't really recommend. I don't think it's worth it. Or Shazam, which is like $1 a year. If you're releasing a cover song, that's $12 a year. But yeah, for your standard stuff, all included, all inclusive. You don't have to take up any of those. It's not like GoDaddy where you go and try and buy a domain name and they want to sell you a yacht or something. I don't know. I haven't used GoDaddy for a long time for that very reason. I use hover.com, by the way. If you want to register a domain name, I recommend hover.com because you buy the domain name and that is it. There is no upsell. They're like, do you want to email with that? I'm like, no. They're like, cool, here's your domain name. And they're not the cheapest. They don't have all the bells and whistles, but they are the simplest, the easiest, the most secure, and there's a link down below if you want to check out hover.com. They're not a sponsor of the channel, but I just use them because I love them. Alrighty, let's move on. Hello to you, Red. I can't stop and watch this tonight, so I'll watch tomorrow and catch up then. Have a good evening to you all. If I have questions, I'll ask another time. Yeah, and we will have plenty more time, plenty more shows, plenty more ability to ask questions. Joe says, I would like to know if radio stations play your songs in Australia. Thank you, Pete. No, mostly because I don't try to put them on the radio. I think there was some discussion earlier in the chat here from some folks talking about radio play, and maybe it's something we can talk about if someone's got a question about it later in the show, but no, I don't do. Jade says, I love my GoDaddy website, and if you use it, more power to you. I just don't like having to click through and click on. Maybe they're different. Maybe it's changed now. I just don't like websites, and I don't like places that try to sell you. Like if you've ever flown, there's a airline called remember flying. There's an airline called Jetstar here in Australia, and trying to just buy a plane ticket on Jetstar is a pain in the ass because you buy the ticket and then it's like, would you like to upgrade to extra legroom? You're like, no. It's like, would you like to upgrade to choose where you sit? No. You might get hungry on the plane. Would you like to upgrade to get a meal on your plane? No. It's like, what about a car? What about a hotel? What about you just shut up and let me buy a plane ticket, Jetstar? Anyway, I told you there would be ranting. I told you. Jade says, I don't buy my domains through GoDaddy, just the web space. Yeah, and again, it might be cool. I use Bluehost for my web hosting, except that I don't because I still haven't set up my website properly. I use WordPress.com for that. But yeah, I just found hover.com to be the easiest to go with. Let's continue on. And exactly as Sion says, what you need is usually what you have. Agree, but hopefully, Brian, that helped you out with the DistroKid Amuse type questions. Go with a second Amuse free account, try that out, or move over to DistroKid because yeah, you won't be disappointed. No one has ever signed up with DistroKid and come back to me. Like literally, no one has ever come back and said, "You recommended DistroKid. I signed up with them and they were crap." There are horror stories out there of people that have had problems, and I just haven't come across it. And no one that I've worked with has come across. If you take your time, if you follow the rules, and release things and cross your T's and dot your I's, you'll be absolutely fine. Alrighty, Kyle Hogan has a question. Have you ever considered getting Logic Pro? I updated from GarageBand about a year ago and it's so much better. Good question. Logic Pro users. Hands up the Logic Pro users in the house. Anyone rocking Logic Pro? See, I haven't even upgraded to GarageBand Mac yet, so it is inevitable. So if you missed the start of the show, I have a new M1 Mac coming on Monday, 2 days' time, and the new Mac Mini. I will be running GarageBand on it because I believe it is installed in the operating system. I've never owned a Mac. It's going to be really interesting. I kind of freaked out a bit, and I said to Jade, I'm like, Jade, I don't have a Mac keyboard. I've got plenty of keyboards, but they're all Windows keyboards. I need a Mac keyboard. And then I'm like, oh wait, I've got this. I've got this one. I've got the Logitech Bluetooth. So I'm assuming that this will work. I'm assuming the Mac Mini will have Bluetooth. Like this is how naive I am. This is how little I know. But hopefully at least for a couple of days I can use this. Although I've just realized it's going to be fine, because I can get to Officeworks on Monday to actually buy one. So, yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. But Logic Pro, do you use Logic Pro? And what do you think of it? Here's the thing. The reason I use GarageBand on my iPad and my iPhone is that it works for my workflow. I find the workflow really cool. I find that it's really easy to use, and I find that I get more music created. I'm actually moved from Reaper, which is a DAW, a digital audio workstation on PC, which did a lot more than GarageBand on iPad does. And I had my PC, which was a lot more powerful. I could do a lot more things. I could use plugins. I could use, back in the day, I used addictive drums and addictive keys. I had all the plugins and all yeah. And I wasn't creating music. I wasn't getting stuff done because it was too hard to get up and get started. I shifted to GarageBand, and within 2 months, I had an EP written, recorded, mixed, mastered, and released. And that's sort of where I got to. I'm like, I don't want all the bells and the whistles. I don't need all the bells and whistles. What I want is a workflow that can allow me to plug in my guitar, my keyboards, my vocal mics, record everything, a few cool virtual instruments to add in, the ability to add in and mix with plugins, then the ability to export and master. And iOS gives me all of that. GarageBand and Final Touch is kind of all I need to do it. So that all being said, I will definitely explore GarageBand, and I believe Logic Pro still has the free 30 or 60-day trial. Patrick may be able to correct me, or someone else in the GarageBand Mac ecosystem. But yeah, I'll definitely jump in and check it out, because why not? And again, I've said, so people have been teasing me for justifying it this way, but I said yesterday, I'm taking one for the team. I wanted someone like me to get a Mac that was a PC and iOS user and just see how it works and how it integrates. And then I thought, wait a minute, guy like me, I'm a guy like me. So I'm going to do it. So if you are a guy like me, or a girl like me, or anyone like me, then yeah, hopefully my experience I'll share. It will be a documenting. It won't be tutorials because I won't know what the heck I'm doing, but it will be fun. It'll be a fun ride. Maybe I need someone like Patrick to come on live and help me troubleshoot my new Mac. It could be a lot of fun. Excuse me a moment. Alrighty. Continuing on. Spot 11 says $35 a year. I spend more on cigarettes a week than that. And I spend more on beer a week than that. So, yeah, $35 a year for $35.99 for your distro kid. I think it's worth it. I really do. I'm usually not a subscription fan. And you might say, oh, Pete, you just say DistroKid are good because they sponsor the channel. Yeah, they do. But I was saying that they were good for 2 years before they started sponsoring the channel. And there are plenty of other companies and services who have offered to sponsor the channel that I've said no to because I simply don't use or don't find their service to be what I'm looking for. So, yeah, DistroKid for the win. Let's continue on here. Office, there you go. Office Works is next day delivery. So yeah, maybe there's an Office Works close by to me. I can get there since we are no longer locked down, which I'll talk about quickly. So yeah, there was a cluster of confirmed cases here in Adelaide, and in Australia these are taken like super seriously. Like Victoria had their 120 something day lockdown recently, and yeah, other parts of the country where they find these clusters, they basically isolate everyone in that community. They do the contact tracing, they isolate everyone who's had contact, and they basically try to lock it down and not spread. There was a situation here in Adelaide where there was workers at one of the Medi hotels. So people are coming back into Australia from overseas. They have to quarantine for 14 days, and because early on people were not able to function and actually stay in quarantine, they've had to put them into hotels to make sure that they don't spread themselves around. So there was a security guard that worked at a hotel who also worked at a pizza bar here that shall remain nameless in Adelaide, that yeah, they contracted the virus and then they went and worked at the pizza bar. Yay. And here's the problem is that originally they said, oh, I didn't work at the pizza bar, I just got a pizza delivered from the pizza bar. So authorities freaked out because they thought, not only is this spreading around, it could have spread from anyone who's had a pizza, who's bought a pizza, who's had a delivery from this pizza shop. Turned out wasn't the case. They actually worked there and they weren't out delivering or spreading pizzas around. So, short story, state was locked down for 6 days. This is day 4. And yesterday they came out and said, we're stopping it 2 days early. Because of this, the risk is lower. We're stopping it 2 days early. So everything will open up tomorrow. So tomorrow I can leave my house and I can walk down to Officeworks and I can buy myself a Mac keyboard. So that was a long way to say that yes, instead of me being stuck here, because my delivery was coming Monday, but I couldn't get out of the house and go anywhere to buy anything, any of the accessories I need, which is probably just a keyboard, maybe a mouse, I don't know. How quickly that $1,000 starts going up, right? But yeah, so I can actually do that now. So that's the situation, and that's what's going on here. So a little bit of a cluster thing, but yes, we'll see how we go. Yes, and I realize, as folks like Tom are saying, that yeah, I know that when like 17 cases in a cluster, other parts of the world are just like, yeah, we wish. Like I realize that it's all happening. Yeah, which is bad and sad because yeah, the problem, I'm not going to go into a big rant, but let's just move on from that. The problem is that people are not looking out for people. People are looking out for the bottom line, for politics, for alignment and all that sort of stuff. And it's not the right way to address a public health crisis, to have infighting about what's to do. You just need to talk to the experts, find out what they say is the best thing to do, and then bloody do it. All right, moving on to the next question, which is from Doug Wolf. G'day, Doug. Doug says, can GarageBand record in 32-bit float audio so that my audio won't clip? No, not on iOS, and I'm assuming not on Mac. I would say it's probably capped at 24-bit as well. If your audio is clipping, it's usually not due to only being 24-bit audio, and 32-bit floating does help. It does give you a little bit more range, but clipping is more to do with the gain, with the volume going into your signal. So if you're getting clipping audio, it's probably less to do with it being 32-bit float as opposed to 24, and more to do with the input gain and how hot your signal is going in. And Patrick has confirmed, yeah, 24-bit on Mac too. And yeah, look, I know 32-bit is better, but it's not real. Like most of your gear is only going to be 24. I know Steinberg makes some 32-bit supported gear, but most people are only 24, and most audio that you then share. So I know for DistroKid, for Muse, actually Muse is only 16-bit, but DistroKid is 24-bit maximum. And if you're wondering what we're talking about here, this is the bit depth of your audio. So you might have heard terms like 8-bit audio, 16-bit audio is 24-bit audio. 16-bit digital audio is what CD is. So CD quality is 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz audio. And what most people record in these days is 24-bit, 44.1, or for video, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz audio. And you can increase that. So you can go up to 32-bit floating point in some DAWs like Reaper that support that, or you can also go up in your kilohertz, your sampling rate. And I won't go into a detail about this, but your bit depth is basically how much range, so the dynamic range. So 8-bit sounds are really like low in their range. 16-bit gives you more range, 24-bit more range. It means you can hear the top and the bottom ends a lot better, a lot more clarity in the music. Your sampling rate is how many times per second the audio is sampled. So that means that if you double the sampling rate, you're doubling the file size because it's taking twice as many snapshots of the audio as you're recording in digital. So that's a very, very layperson term of how that works. Let's continue on. Any other comments on that one? Jack Smith says, I have an audio interface, and even with the camera connection kit, I can't get my audio on my recording on my phone. Check out the video. There is a video I did which was troubleshooting tips. So if you search Pete John's interface errors, then you'll find my video on that. Usually it comes down to two things with mobile: the power, or having an actual genuine Apple Lightning to USB adapter. So you'll either not be sending enough power, so you'll need something like a powered USB hub, or you're not using the genuine Apple Lightning to USB adapter. It's not going to be compatible. It's not going to work. So they're the couple of things on that one. All right, you need some water because I can hear the voices starting to go. Hello to Elin Lucklund. 24-bit depth has more bytes than molecules in the moon. Math wizard programmer explained to me. Yeah, did anyone see the new Macs and how many like millions and billions of transistors are in those things now and like what they're talking about? Crazy. Absolute craziness. Righty dokie. Let's find. I do say righty dokie a lot, don't I? That has to be the name of my next project. Next question comes from Spot11, who is here in the chat. With so many people I see asking about a sequencer for GarageBand on Mac and there not being one, have you or anyone else tried to use Reason Rack? I just used it for my other DAW too, but thought since it's AU it should work with GB. Good question. I haven't tried Reason Rack, but then again I haven't had a Mac. So yeah, not having a sequencer on GarageBand on Mac. So is there a beat sequencer yet? I know there wasn't. I don't think there was anyway. I'm assuming that with the new update there's still not a beat sequencer within GarageBand Mac, or I could be totally wrong. I don't think the live loops functionality is there. It is in Logic, I believe. It's going to be so nice to actually be able to have a machine where I could just load it up and find out this stuff without having to ask Patrick every time. But yeah, I don't know. But if anyone else has used Reason Rack, if it's AU though, it should totally work. If it's an AU plugin, it should be supported. GarageBand's pretty good with working with a lot of AU, even stuff that says, yeah, don't use this with GarageBand. I think someone was saying the Waves plugins say don't use them with GarageBand, but they work fine. And yeah, AUV3, anything AUV3 should work with GarageBand on your iOS device. What's your favorite style of music? What's my favorite style of music? That's a really good question. I don't know. What's your favorite style of music? It depends on my mood, to be honest. It depends on if I'm in the mood for something that rocks. I like listening to 90s alternative grungy rockiness. So yesterday I stuck on a 90s Australian alternative station and we had bands like Tumbleweed and Ammonia and Jebediah that many of you wouldn't actually know or have ever heard, but that's sort of what I like to listen to there. Regurgitator. But then, Friends will Rom. But then when I'm in a more mellow mood, I like to listen to acoustic, folksy, rocky music. So your Jack Johnson, your Ben Folds, your Whitlams, those sort of styles. A lot of Australian stuff, actually. When I'm listening to music, it's mostly Australian. And then sometimes I want to rock out with more modern stuff. So The Killers, Muse, who else do I like? Weezer. They're not that new, but they do have new stuff. So yeah, that's what I like. Patrick says, nope, was added to Logic. There you go. So Logic has the sequencer and sampler, which Maury P has confirmed. We have it. We have both. Hello, Hope Studio Basics. Why are you so cool? Why are you so cool? I like your logo. That's cool. Home Studio Basics, and it's the shapes there. I like it. I like it a lot. It's really baffling the way they didn't add live loops and beat sequencer to GB Mac, seeing how it's in Logic and the iOS version. I bet they add it in a future update. Yeah, was it you, Tom, or Scott, or someone that's been talking to me recently about what's the roadmap for GarageBand Mac versus Logic? It seems to have confused itself quite a few times over. So you're just thinking it's going one direction with Logic adding in all the GarageBand iOS stuff, and then GarageBand Mac adds in a bunch of other GarageBand iOS stuff. It's weird. Like, they obviously have to keep them different. They have to make sure there's features on Logic that aren't on Mac, otherwise nobody would buy it. But yeah, I wonder what they're actually doing. What's the end game there in the things between that? Curtis Earth, hello to you, my friend. Now, I have a question pending from you on email. I know I responded to you last week, and then I'm about 3 days behind on email. But your Studio Live tee just arrived in the mail. Epic. Let me know what you think of it, my friend. The t-shirts, I've tried to keep the prices as low as I can, which means I'm using the standard t-shirt. I could go up to the premium t-shirt. So if anyone that's bought one, I mean, I've bought them to test them out, and I like them. I think they're cool. But I know there are people that really like full-on heavy-duty cotton t-shirts. So anyone that's bought one, please let me know what you think of it, because if it's worthwhile, I didn't want to make them more than about $20, and if I made them premium, they would have had to be closer to $30. So, but yeah, thank you for buying the t-shirt. And you did have a question. Let's see if we can answer it now. Let's see if we can workshop it while we have everyone here. Let's see if we can answer Curtis's question, because I've forgotten what it is, but it should be sitting here in my email inbox. Russ has ordered the t-shirt. You're a legend. You're a gentleman and a scholar, Russ. Thank you very much for that. If you do want to order your own t-shirt, you can do so over at studiolivetoday.com/merch. That's where you can find your merch. And let's just say that today's show is brought to you by Studio Live Today merch. Get your merchandise today. Let's see if we can find this one from Curtis. Right. And hopefully you don't mind me asking this question here live, because hey, we've got 50 brains here live as opposed to just mine, plus a few hundred that'll watch the replay. So maybe we can solve it for you. Curtis says, a friend sent me a cell phone video of him playing a riff and chords on a song he's writing. It's not this is right. It's not recorded to a click track or drum track. As a result, he speeds up and slows down a little. Is there an app I can use that will allow me to import the song and even it out to make it conform to a BPM effectively? I want to build it up and add other parts, but it's impossible to do so because the original recording wasn't played to a click track. Yeah, what a good question. The short answer is it would be complicated to do so. So what we're talking about here is, as you know, if you're recording to a click track, it might be a 100 BPM song. So if someone's recording to that, it makes it super convenient, because you can import their audio into GarageBand or any other audio processor, digital audio workstation. You can line everything up, and then you can easily add in beats and loops and samples and your own music, your own instruments, because it's all going to be on the grid. When it's not on the grid, what do you do? Now, I've only done this a couple of times with a few songs where I've had a similar situation. Every effort I've made to try and line it up to a grid by using stretching and unstretching of the audio hasn't really worked, because again, like you say, if it's just a change, that's one thing. If it just shifts in one part, that's easier, because what you can do is use an app like Audio Stretch, which can let you stretch the audio in or out. So what you do is you'd say, this audio is sitting in this 3 minutes, but it needs to be in 2 minutes 55 to be at the right tempo. So you just push it down and make it slightly quicker, and then that'll line up with the rest. Floating can be harder. There are some DAWs, I think Pro Tools might do it, Logic possibly is one that does it, that can do beat detection, and then they line up the bars based on that, and they can actually support a floating tempo. I'm not sure if in iOS, Jade Star, if you're here, does Auria Pro, I know you can do tempo changes, but can you map out a floating tempo in Auria Pro or anything like that? So let's throw it out there. So while we see if anyone has any answers to that, we'll say g'day to the folks here. Andy Goldsby says, put too many pounds on for the tea, I'll get the mug instead. There you go. And as Jade says, the coffee tastes better in a Studio Live Today mug. I'm not even rocking. It was in the dishwasher. It was dirty this morning. I need to wash my mug, because I'm using the Kmart special today. But yes, it does do. And Deep Gravity says, been slurping coffee from my Studio Live Today mug. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my friend. Let's see. So Yeah, please, exactly. Please include a BPM. The solution to your problem is to tell your friend to re-record the video and do it to a click track because, yeah, it can be super difficult to actually do that. So I'm assuming that we don't have any other answers in here, Curtis, but yeah, we'll put it out there. If anyone has an answer that comes in the next sort of few minutes, or is watching the replay and has an answer, please drop it in the comments. We'd love to get your suggestions to that. But yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. So yeah, you throw the curly questions my way, my friend. We'll see. We'll see how we go. Let's get back to the list. By the way, if you're just joining us live, if it's your first time here, if you just stumbled in, put a hashtag new down in the chat, in the comments. Just say g'day. And yes, I'm sure our regulars here will welcome you with open arms because the more the merrier. The more folks that we have here asking questions and answering questions. I say this every week, but whenever I do a Q&A show, as many questions get answered by you as me, usually more, because the power of group think and having everyone here, that's not the right word for it, but you know what I mean. The power of having many more minds is a better thing than just my one noggin trying to answer everything. Let's move on to our next question here on the form. And what I was saying is there is a link to the question form down in the description and a pinned comment as well. So you can jump in and do as Tom Rochelle has done, which he has said, Pete, have you ever had what you would call a supernatural experience? Do you believe in ghosts, aliens, etc.? What a good question. Embracing the ask me anything nature. So yeah, I do like this. I do like to take a bit of a pause and talk about other things. Short answer is no. So have I ever had a supernatural experience? No. Do I believe in ghosts, aliens, etc.? I believe that there is more to life than what we see in our physical space. There's too many things, there's too many convenient things that have happened that have meant that we are the only creatures on a planet that happens to be informed by life that we can then create things and do things. So, yeah, I know that's a bit of a wishy-washy, wowie answer, but yeah, it's kind of the way I think is that I believe in science and I believe in fact, and I think that for most things, we should be using science and fact to drive the decisions that we make in the world. But I do also believe that there's some things that go on. And I do believe in the power of the mind, and I do believe in the power of positive thinking. And those are things that, yeah, are not exactly science. They're kind of science adjacent. But yeah, short version is I wouldn't be surprised, especially in 2020, mate. I wouldn't be surprised. I keep walking around saying, I'll wake up one day and the news will just be, by the way, aliens exist now. And I'll just be like, cool, thought so. Because nothing's surprising to me anymore. But here's the thing, like, take the supernatural out of it. Does life exist elsewhere? Yeah, absolutely. Because it would be of all of the galaxies and universes, all the galaxies in the world, of all the planets, of all the suns, of all the stars, it can't be that just our one has the right distance and the right makeup for there to be life on it. The thing is, I don't think it's alien life like we're thinking it. It could be complete. Like, we can't even comprehend what life may be like elsewhere. It's not going to be humanoid. It's not even going to be animaloid. It may be single cell organisms. Like, it may not be anything that we recognize or that we can even understand. But anyway, a good question and a deep one. Jumping into the deep stuff. But yeah, I do like to talk about that sort of thing from time to time because it's fascinating. And whatever your opinion is, whatever your view is, you can hold whatever view you want. As long as you don't tell anyone else what they have to think or what they're allowed to think, hold whatever view you want. Just don't force it upon other people. Like everything in life, consenting adults should be able to do and think whatever they want, provided it doesn't have a negative impact on other people. That's my position anyway. And yeah, that's the way I go. All right. As Mark's got a good quote here. If there was only us, that would be an awful waste of space. From Carl Sagan. Yes, absolutely. And I, for one, welcome our alien overlords. Yes. Hail ants for the win. Alrighty. Siri might be remote run by aliens. It probably is. It probably could be. Rick Learsk, hello, the man in the hat in the house. What kind of music does E.T. listen to, I wonder? I don't know, but he always listens to it on his phone at home. See what I did there? Scott says, either way, music and math can argue it's a universal language. The language of music is pretty cool. I know Jade was interviewing Riley. I forget Riley's full name, but another artist, and yeah, they were talking about the language of music, and that sometimes you feel like you open your mouth and it would make more sense for music to come out. which I agree with. Ryex in GarageBand, when I drag and drop a WAV file, it keeps saying it's copying the files, but it just freezes that point. You know why it does that? I don't, but I suspect it's probably that the file isn't downloaded completely. So if it's in your iCloud drive, make sure it's downloaded. Go to the Files app, and if it has the little cloud icon next to it, just tap it to make sure it downloads. Sometimes it looks like it can import, but it can't. The more likely thing is it's an unsupported file format. So it may be a 32-bit WAV file, or it may be using compression technique that isn't supported by GarageBand. I use an app called Audio Share, which is a great way to convert it. So I would get Audio Share. It's about a $4 app. Open the audio file in Audio Share and convert it to a 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz WAV file. That way you know it's going to be spot on, compatible, able to be used in GarageBand. That's my opinion on that way. Any way to clean up distorted guitar tracks? So I'm assuming that you mean that the guitar tracks are distorted and you don't want them to be distorted. Distortion is a hard thing to get rid of if you don't want it, because distortion is actually it's part of the sound, and often distortion is created by overloading your input gain. So having to that's what distortion is. It's basically high gain. It's increasing the gain to the point where the signal breaks up and adds distortion. Now we do that deliberately for distorted guitar. If you've got a guitar sound that is distorting that shouldn't, best advice is to re-record it. There really is no fix it in the mix when it comes to a distorted or a clipping type sound. So I would recommend that to go back and re-record it if you can. If you can possibly do so. Alrighty. If you Pete Johns, if your mind is a jukebox, what song is playing? That's a great question. If my mind is a jukebox, what song is playing? Similar to the what sort of music do is my favorite. It really depends on what I'm doing. I do often have a song in my head. Sometimes it's my own song, but what song is playing generally? It's a tough one. I'm trying to think of something that a song that would be the message of that I have. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Funnily enough, if my head was a jukebox. I do have a lot of Nirvana in my head for some reason. It smells like Teen Spirit's often up there in my head. Karma Police by Radiohead often sits there because, like, Karma Police arrest this man. I like to believe that karma is a thing. I like to believe that people will get their comeuppance for their behaviour and they'll get rewarded for good behaviour. Doesn't always work that way, but it's a nice thought, isn't it? Dave said exactly. I added distortion, but now it's too distorted. Yeah, so you might have to if it's a plugin, you can obviously dial it back. If you've recorded the distortion onto the track, you pretty much have to do it again. I've had a McFly track stuck in my head for the last week. Love those guys. Could be turning the jukebox off for a day or two. Yeah. I must admit, the song I played before, Things Change, that's been going around in my head because, I keep thinking that it's very relevant to 2020 because things change. And there's a line in that says, you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change. And I think people have been spending way too much time kicking and screaming and not enough time working out what they should actually be doing with this time that they have instead of worrying about it. Look, I'm not going to get into a political discussion, but some people need to relax, in my view, because they're spending too much time focused on the things they can't control, not on the things that they can control and influence. And that's a good metaphor for music, I believe. I think that if you do the same sort of thing with music, it is good. Don't focus on things you can't control. Don't look to your left and your right and see what other people are using and feel bad because you don't have all the gear, you don't have the Pro Tools rig, you don't have the Fender Stratocaster. Just do it. Infarction says variable tempo workaround. Play the track and record it using music memos. Export the music memos file to GB and the variable tempo will be accepted. Import the original track and line up with music memos. Music memos is a good suggestion. Music memos does actually support variable tempo. The question I have is that once you brought it into GarageBand, it would be on the click track because it follows it, but it might not work for things like loops because of the variable tempo. I'm not sure. I would have to try it, but yeah, there you go. And a suggestion here from Patrick is use EQ to lower the top end frequencies. Yeah, absolutely, especially because distortion is often at the high end. So if you do want to try and tame it, if it's sounding too harsh, that's actually a really good suggestion that you can grab your EQ and I use the LRC5 if you're on iOS or if you're on GarageBand Mac or something else, just any parametric EQ where you can actually dial in and find the frequency that's the harsh one that you don't want and pull it down. It's a good suggestion as well. Christoph says, can I use iPod Go input without using a gear from GarageBand so that it sounds like it is? iPod Go input using gear. I'm not quite sure on the question. Maybe ask it in the form and with a bit more detail, Christoph. So there's a form down in the description, in the pinned comment, that is for asking full questions. You can do that. Joe says, how often do you really use your mobile setup outdoors? In the last 8 months, Joe, very rarely, to be very honest, because I haven't been able to be outdoors. I do want to do it more, and I do use it occasionally. Like it's less outdoors than it is in different rooms. So, for instance, because I have my audio interface, my iPad Pro, if I want a bit of a change of scenery, or if, say, my children are in this room playing on the computer, doing their Minecraft thing or whatever they do, and I want to go somewhere else, I can just take my rig, which is my iPad, and my audio interface, and my guitar and cable, and go somewhere else. So I'll often use like my iRig Pro IO for that because it's the most portable one. So just for recording somewhere else, it's good. I record over in that cupboard, which you can't see, I know, but there's a walk-in robe over there where I record in as well. I can just pick up, lift and shift my gear into there, and that gives me a nice kind of vocal booth kind of sound if I want to eliminate any of the echo and the reflection. So I do that. Outside, I would love to do a whole lot more. In fact, I'm doing a happy hour show. Happy hour show tomorrow, and I am considering doing it outdoors, even just in my own backyard. Could be a bit of fun just to sit out there. And it was when I bought the Mac Mini, which I talked about before. The reason I was considering a MacBook Air is I thought that would be cool to be able to do live streaming from different locations from outdoors. And then I thought, exactly to the point of your question, how often am I going to actually bother doing that? I don't know. Alrighty, let's continue on. It's getting really hot in here. I wonder how bad it will sound. I'm just going to put the air conditioner on for 5 minutes, and we'll see. Because I've always wondered, it's probably going to blow straight into the microphone. We'll point it down. We'll get the air swing going straight down, so that it potentially will just blow down there. You'll hear a bit of background noise, but otherwise I'm going to start Rudy Giulianiing all over the place, and my hair dye is going to start going down the sides of my head because so much hair dye going on here. Sorry, I keep getting semi-political. Let's move back and start talking about the questions. So back to the form here. I've got a question here from Ed Zelinsky, aka Ed Z, or Ed Z. Is it Ed Z? I can't remember where you are in the world, Ed, but Ed Z is cool. But Ed Z is also cool. What are your thoughts on balancing time learning or practicing versus composing? For myself, I worry I do too much time playing around and not enough time getting results. What a great question, Ed Z. One of the reasons that I started this channel, like legitimately one of the reasons I started this channel, was to motivate myself to actually create, record, and release music, because I was in exactly that boat. I would do a lot of noodling, a lot of writing chord progressions, a lot of getting half songs done. I hadn't released a single thing. There's that aircon. I hadn't released a single thing, and I wanted to release music. And the whole reason I kind of created this whole create, record, release movement was that I wanted to encourage other folks to do exactly that. And I think you're right. It's really easy to spend a lot of time in the theory and in the learning side of it and not enough time applying it practically, especially with the dawn of YouTube, the dawn of podcasts. Like, I could spend literally 24 hours a day just watching other people do the stuff, or I could watch something, get some ideas, take them away, and implement them into my own workflow and my own stuff. So yeah, it is a fine balance. So what are your thoughts on balancing the time learning and practicing versus composing? So I think it should be like the 80-20 rule applies to most things in life, and I think it applies here. I think if you had 5 hours per week, so let's just say that you had an hour per day, 5 days of the week, an hour per day, I think that you should spend 1 hour learning, so watching Studio Live today, watching the GarageBand guide, reading articles, listening to podcasts, and 4 hours actually implementing, creating. I think a lot of folks do it the other way around, myself included. I was definitely doing it the other way around. When I first started out, I would sit down and I'd be like, oh, I'll just watch this one Joe Gilda video. And then I'll just watch this one Graham Cochran video. And I'll just watch this one Rick Beato video. And like 3 hours later, I felt all enthused and engaged and ready to go. Hadn't done a thing. My music had not progressed at all. So I know it's a weird thing for me to say, because clearly, as a proper YouTube content creator, I should be telling you to binge watch my YouTube content and then not do anything. So really, my mantra shouldn't be create, record, release. It should be listen, watch, learn, and then don't actually apply any of it. So yeah, it's a tough one, but I'll put it out there to the rest of the audience here. What do you do? How do you manage your time? How do you balance out learning and watching a show like this to get some ideas? Because hey, don't discount it. It is good. It's good to do. But if you're only doing this and you're not doing the actual creating, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. All right, I'm cool enough now. We've avoided the dye rolling down my cheeks, so we should be good. Alrighty, yeah. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Yes, the Giuliani comment. I'm sorry. Again, just so that you know, I don't care what people think. I don't care about your political beliefs. I don't care about anything. I care just about fairness and justness and looking after people and caring more about people than about things. And that's all I've got to say about that, as my friend Forrest Gump says. Ed Zed has got another one. How did you develop your vocal style and skill? And do you have any tips for those who want to improve their vocals for their own productions? I do. Okay, let's start with the caveat. I am not a professional vocalist. I am not a vocal teacher, and I'm not a professionally trained vocalist. So take all of what I say with a grain of salt. But what I have done is I have gone from someone who hated their own voice, who wouldn't sing in public, who hated recording my voice because I thought it sounded terrible, to someone who has just embraced it, who has learned to enjoy the weirdness of my voice, to enjoy the uniqueness in my voice, and to just own it. And to me, that's the key thing here, is if you embrace it and if you own it, it's going to be so much better. And I'll take a sip of water to protect said voice, and then I'll rant about what I mean. So, how did I develop the style and any tips for doing it? So yeah, when I started out, I was singing within myself. And this is my number one golden rule tip for vocals, is to sing like no one's listening, to sing like no one's watching, to give it 100%. Because when I hear vocalists starting out, when I hear home recording people in general starting out, they're singing like this. They're singing a bit quieter. They're singing from in their throat. They're not getting the body and the diaphragm into it and feeling it. And you can hear it. You can hear someone's stance. Have you ever heard that before, that if someone's like this, if someone's sitting like this, their voice kind of goes like this. It goes up into the top of their throat and it sounds like hollow and it doesn't work. If you sit like this, you're coming from the chest, you've got the diaphragm working for you, you can project. So when folks are learning to do public speaking, a lot of it is about posture and about the stance and about your confidence of your delivery. And it's the same with vocals. If you're trying to sing vocals like this because you're singing because you're feeling for self-conscious and you don't really want anyone to hear you and you don't think anyone wants to listen to your music anyway, it's going to come through in your music. Now, how do you get past this? How do you get over it? How did I do it? I started singing a lot when I had the place to myself. Now, I know right now that's a hard thing to do. No one can go anywhere. So it's probably the hardest time that there's been to actually get this done. But find times where you can go. I used to sing in that cupboard. I've said this a few times now. I used to sing in a walk-in robe, and I'd get up early in the morning and I'd close as many doors as I could, and it was fairly well insulated, so no one was going to hear, like I wasn't going to wake up the neighbors. And then I would just give it my everything. I would sing and just go. And some of those takes were god awful. Like I really wish I'd kept them so that I could play them back to you, because some were terrible. Because here's the thing. The reason I think people don't project is that they're afraid that they're going to hit the wrong note, that they're going to be too sharp or too flat, that they're not going to sound good, they're not going to be able to project it. And that makes you hesitate, and it makes you not take risks, which means that you may be slightly out of tune almost all of the time, but you don't ever hit any really bung notes. Like if you really go for a note and you miss it, you might miss it spectacularly. And that's what I want you to do. That's what I suggest you do, is miss it spectacularly. If you're going to fail hard. Work out what are your limitations, how far can you go with it, and then what do you need to do to rein it in. So just keep trying and keep doing. So that's what I did when I first started out. I was all timid. I was all like this. I started recording and just doing it and doing it and doing it to the point where I was completely used to my voice. I worked out what bits of my voice I liked and what bits I didn't like, and then I could use things like EQ and compression to make it sound the way I wanted it to say. But honestly, the number one thing that I hear when I hear vocals that I'm like, this person is singing within themselves. They're not giving it 100%. They're holding back. And yeah, if you all you really need to do is to actually push to 100%. Push yourself out there, and it can do it. Or as QB says, use pitch correction. Forget all of that, sing how you like, and then use auto-tune. And here we go. Good for the win. Just T-Pain the whole gosh darn thing. Yes. Welcome, QB. Always good to have the penguin in the house. Ed Z. Not Ed Z. Oh, I like Ed Z. Fair warning, I'm probably going to call you Ed Z from now on. Ed Z Linsky, Ed Z. I don't know. Yes, you can literally just talk or rap and play the pitches on a keyboard to control the auto-tune these days. Yeah, you don't need to sing at all, do you? That's right. Just talk it. Just talk your vocals in, and then just auto-tune them. But yeah, I know that was a bit of a rant, and it wasn't really practical advice. But honestly, it is probably when I hear people sing and when I hear their vocals and they're not getting the results they want. I think it's 20% skill and talent and 80% attitude. And if you can find a way to enhance your attitude and to adjust the way that you're approaching it, I think it's going to really help you out. Let's go to the next question. It's weird that this show is like a never-ending show. A never-ending show because if you keep adding questions, I just keep going, don't I? So no, we'll try and cap it around the 2-hour mark because otherwise my voice will drop out. And let's go to the next one. This is from Patrick. Top 3 albums ever. No pressure. Ooh, all right. This is great. While I'm thinking and deciding, if you could put your top 3 albums ever into the chat, that would be very cool. So I'm going to go with the albums I've listened to more than any other albums. So the top one, and I mentioned this about a week ago, it has to be Anima by Tool. I've listened to that album from end to end, and it's a long album with some long-ass songs, and I've listened to that end to end at least a couple of 100 times in my life. Like, I know the order, I know the sequence so well, and I know that the little syncopated rhythms, and I know the little skit bits in between. I know exactly how long that little ion is going to go for before it goes ding, 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 and kicks into Anima. So yeah, that's number one. But yeah, let me know again. Let me know your favorite albums in the chat here, and we'll go through some folks' favorites in a moment. Number 2 is Radiohead's OK Computer. Same deal. Just listen to it so many times. Love the singles from it, but love the non-singles just as much. No Surprises is one of my favorite songs. It's just so mellow, so cool, such a wonderful melody. Obviously, Paranoid Android, Karma Police. That album has songs out the wazoo. And exit music for a film is just outstanding. I'm sure that's from that album. I better check now. If it's not, then it's from another Radiohead. I do like my Radiohead. Let's go Radiohead OK Computer. I think exit music for a film is on that album towards the end. Just bring it up here now to make sure. Where are we? Where are your track listing? I went to Wikipedia for some reason. Yeah, it is. It's track 4. So yeah, Airbag, Paranoid Android, Subterranean, Homesick Alien, and then exit music for a film. Like, best 4 opening songs of an album of all time. Very, very cool. And number 3, look, it's low-hanging fruit, but it's Nevermind by Nirvana. It really did change things. And again, in terms of albums I've listened to end to end, that I know the track order, that I know every song and can listen to the whole thing. And that's the way I kind of judge a good album is, can you listen to the whole thing end to end? And yeah, that's what I'd go with. Some also rans, like I love the Queen Greatest Hits 2 album, the black one with the 4 dudes on the front. I listen to that thing a lot, so that's right up there because I love me some Queen, and that is like the best few songs from each of their best few albums. So yeah, really dig that. What else? Pearl Jam. So Pearl Jam, and weirdly, I do like I like 10, but I probably actually like Verses a little more when it comes to Pearl Jam. So Pearl Jam's Verses is right up there. Love the original Foo Fighters record. I've played that one to death, the one with the ray gun on the front. So yeah, you can tell my style by the types of albums that I like. And Ben Folds 5, Whatever and Ever Amen, their first kind of breakout album that they had. That one's had plenty of spins. in the Johns household. So yeah, that is what I would go with. Let's come in and see what people like. And Jade says the question form is too much fun. I know, right? It's super cool. Let's go here. I'm trying to see where did we start? Trilogy, The Weekend. Yeah, Mark Davis says, Pete's right. You got to commit when you sing. Automatic 75%. Exactly. If you just commit to it and you just give it your all, you'll be absolutely amazed. Like everything in life, I think if you just give it your all, then you're going to be fine. Scott, no specific. Radiohead, O Computer. REM, Automatic for the People. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, absolutely. Some good stuff. Starkey Reaction. Cool name. I saw Tool live with Slipknot about a decade ago. The visuals were top notch. I saw Tool live and they are a fun band to see live. Absolutely. Camellia, Terra IO. So yeah, I think QB was saying electronic music. And look, I do like some electronic music. There's been a few sort of rap and hip hop albums that I've liked in the past, but it hasn't been a genre that I've explored deeply. So yeah, I can't really. Radiohead Reckoner is probably my favorite songs, but a newer one. Yep. Who else have we got? I love your shirt. Yeah, rocking the Rockstar shirt. Might go play some video games this afternoon while we're enjoying our last day of lockdown here for the time being. Do you recommend GarageBand for orchestrations? I recently did the OG Danny Elfman Spider-Man theme on there and it sounded pretty good. Yeah, I do. It is great for all sorts of orchestrations, especially if you pair it with something like an iSymphonic or what's the IK Multimedia one, the sound library one. I can never remember the name of that thing. Anyway, yeah, even the stock GarageBand instruments are awesome. My poor neighbours, I know, but you know what? In lockdown, everyone's got a lot more tolerance because hey, you got to do your thing, right? Just do it, just push it out there. The Bends, yeah, Radiohead's The Bends is a great album as well. Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins, agree with that one. Also like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, a great album from Smashing Pumpkins. Revolver, Electric Ladyland, Everything Must Go by Mannix. Some pretty good options there. Kim says too many to list. Stu Cash is into the Stone Roses, Shed 7, and Oasis definitely, maybe. Definitely, maybe. Absolutely. There's too many. Yes, a Google Forms. I know. I've taken it up to the next level. Yes, if you'd like to ask me a question, help us test out the new question form here. Yes, and if it works, which it seems to be, it'll be great because it means home studio Q&A is going to be much more snappy when we do the weekly Q&A show. So that's going to be really cool. We'll just do a few more. Color and the Shape, Foo Fighters is epic. OK Computer, Radiohead, and Queen 2 by Queen. There you go. Wow, yeah, exactly. We're pretty closely aligned. Not surprisingly, Patrick and I like the same sort of tunes, for sure. I'm just going to see if anyone else has Infarctions, like on some Joni Mitchell, Rush of Blood to the Head, Coldplay, Automatic for the People. Yeah, REM Automatic for the People is going to be right up there as well. The thing is, I listen to the best of REM album a lot more, so that probably gets more spins because that has stuff from Out of Time, from Automatic for the People, from Green. Again, like Queen, it gives you kind of the best of all the album. And I don't know if that counts. Does the Greatest Hits album count as an album? I don't know. Alrighty. I'll just see. Favorite albums. I'm missing. Favorite album, Marilyn Manson. There you go. That's not a surprise. Downward Spiral for Nine Inch Nails. In Utero. Yeah, In Utero is an epic album. And Odelay by Beck. I haven't listened to that for the longest time. I'm gonna queue up some Odelay from Beck after this show. I'm gonna listen to that this afternoon. What a great idea. Benjamin Crash Test Dummies. God Shuffled His Feet. That's right up there for me actually. I've listened to that album again hundreds of times through, so that has to be right up there. New Radicals and They Might Be Giants. Yeah. There's an album They Might Be Giants did an album called Mink Car, which is one that it's not really popular, but I've listened to it a bunch, and it's very cool. I'm sorry if I've missed anyone here, but Dark Side of the Moon, World Machine, Level 42, and the Infected album. Yeah. I think I've got everyone's there. If I've missed you, sorry, because there's too many folks. I think everyone loves sharing their albums, which is cool. Thank you, David, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Says, thanks, Peter. Played drums, bass, and keyboards for church worship and added GarageBand instruments applying your tips. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, my friend. I certainly will. And I do love hearing that. I was talking during the week that I've been contacted by a bunch of people playing in bands, playing in churches, teachers who are homeschooling at the moment, parents who are homeschooling their kids, and it's so nice when I hear that the videos that I'm making here, just to sort of share, because I make these for myself because I'm learning something new. I'm like, well, if I'm learning it, other people may have the same questions and putting it out there. And yeah, every time I get contacted by someone saying, hey, yeah, you did this video and it helped me solve this problem and it helped more music get out into the world, then yeah, that always makes me happy. So I appreciate it, David. Thanks for coming along, and thank you for the super chat. It does help out. I mentioned at the start of the show I just ordered myself a new Mac. So the Studio Live Today fund has been cleared out, and this isn't a call for help. Don't worry. This isn't to guilt anyone into donating to the channel, but your donations seriously help. Like every time someone donates, you might think, hey, it's £5 here, it's $5 there. Every little bit helps because that goes into the fund that helps me buy the gear that I review. And then I can be your guinea pig. I can buy the new Mac because you folks support me, and then we can check it out together and I can share everything I learn, and it can help you out in the long run as well. So very, very cool. We've got some more question. Isaac Garcia, do you have a prosthetic eye? I do. That one. Yes, I've had it all my life since I was born, and it doesn't stop me doing much, as you can probably tell. But no, I'm not bothered by that question, by the way. I do. It does come up in the comments from time to time. But you know what? It is what it is. Everyone's unique, and embrace your uniqueness, people. Jade Star, Mr. Bungle, Disco Volante, Slayer, Rainy Blood, Faith No More, Angel Dust. Another album, Faith No More, Angel Dust, another album I don't listen to enough. I need to go back and listen to it more. I'm trying to work out a Faith No More song that I can play on the happy hour. But every time I try to play one, they were just too good. Like the vocals, the guitars, the arrangements were too good. They're really hard to translate to an acoustic. So if you've got any suggestions, Jade, for a Faith No More track I should try and play, apart from Easy. I always cheat and just play Easy. Kim loves Odelay as well, absolutely. Favorite song to play on the piano? My favourite song to play on the piano is a song that not many people will know, called Charlie No. 2 by the Whitlams. So I love me some Whitlams. They play some good piano stuff. I also like playing a song by Ben Folds called Evaporated on the piano. It's a really nice song. I don't think I've ever actually recorded a cover. I play it a lot, but I don't think I've ever recorded it. Really beautiful song, Evaporated by Ben Folds 5. You should check it out. Ed Zielinski's got a top 3, Steely Dan, Nevermind, and Kind of Blue. Some good suggestions there. Do you ever use DB? Do you use DB to record covers? GB, GarageBand to record covers? Yeah, absolutely. Got one in the works at the moment. About to start recording it. Pretty excited. I think I've mentioned it before. I won't mention it again here, but I'm going to do a couple of shows during the week. And again, this isn't to guilt anyone to becoming a patron, but I'm going to share some live streams with my patrons over on patreon.com/PeteJohns, because I haven't given a lot of exclusive content to the folks over there, and these are folks who choose to support me month in, month out with donations through Patreon. So they're going to be the first to see the new cover song that I'll be recording. So that'll be happening next week. Super exciting. I've got the X-Sonic X-Tone Pro set up here. I'm going to be doing some electric guitar recordings, some bass, some vocals, all through this little box. It's a cool little box. Can I show it to you? I've showed it before here on the channel. Let me just unplug it. It's excellent, and it was plugged in. It's excellent, and there it is, the X-Sonic X-Tone Pro. It is this end. It's got a mic preamp. It's got left and right out here for your monitor speakers, which is what I just unplugged, powered by USB. And yeah, as you can see, it's got the stomp features here. So I want to play around with these in some guitar amp simulators and see what we can do with this sucker. Should be a lot of fun, and we'll be doing that next week. And I will share the end results on the channel. I'll basically be making the videos live on Patreon. So if you want to see kind of the behind the scenes of how I bring everything together, then you can do that. But then if you're not a patron, don't worry, you won't miss out. You'll just get the highlight version, the edited version of the video showing how I use this, how I use Tone Bridge, because I want to use Tone Bridge on this. I haven't used Tone Bridge in a long time, and Jade's put me back onto it and rekindled my love for Tone Bridge, which I never really had before because I'd used it that much. I love Beck's Sea Change is a fantastic album, absolutely. Infarction, Dark Side of the Moon, anything by the Smiths, Urban Hymns by the Verve. Yeah, how good are the Verve? Haven't listened to the Verve in a long time either. Odelay rocks. Maybe I need to play a Beck track in the happy hour tomorrow. That could be cool. Sorry for the chat spam. That's all right, man. I enjoy it, but I'm going to move on in a moment because otherwise we could spend the rest of the day talking about our favourite ones. Living Colour, Vivid, Face No More, Angel Dust, Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Some good suggestions there. Let's have a beverage. Let's get back over to the form. We'll try and do some quick fire questions here for the last 20 minutes, hey? And if we go a bit over time, that's okay, because it's Saturday morning here. I'm locked down again for another day, so I ain't going anywhere. You might just go knock on the door because my children will be like, "Can we come and play Minecraft now?" Because they are, well, it's Saturday, so they're home from school, but they've been home from school the last couple of days. Where's the form? There it is. So that was Patrick. Patrick destroying the chat with all your questions. And the beautiful part is, if we don't get through all these, I'll just recycle them for tomorrow's home studio Q&A. John H says, could you outline your basic mixing process? Good question. I'm like, let's do some quick questions. Just outline your mixing process. All right, so my mixing process is I mix on the go, which means that as I'm recording, I'm starting to make mix decisions. So if I'm recording my guitars in and my vocals in, I'm already adjusting compression. I'm adding reverb and delay where I need it to just make it sound kind of the way I want it to be. Then I record all the instruments in. First time around is to get a rough mix. So once all my instruments are recorded, I'll do a rough mix. And my approach is actually very simple. I listen to the track and I only change things if I need to. So I think when I started out, the big mistake I made was that I thought you had to EQ everything. I thought you had to add compression to everything. I thought you always needed to use reverb and delay. Sometimes, especially when you're using virtual instruments, you don't have to do anything. If you've recorded it, if you've got it right at the source, shout out Joe Gilder, if you get it right at the source and you have a good quality recording, especially as something like an acoustic guitar, little tweak of reverb, maybe a dash of compression, it's going to sound good. I often don't do much else to them. So that's sort of where I go to. Get my rough mix together. A lot of it is about balancing. I think the big tip that I give people and that my approach to mixing is I spend a heap of time balancing the levels. And that means listening through the song the whole way through and then balancing to get your static mix right. So I'll listen to the whole thing and I'll make a note. I'll be like, okay, guitar needs to come down 1 dB. Turn the guitar down a dB. Listen again. Piano needs to come up 2 dBs. Put it up 2 dBs. So I'll do that. And then automation. So automation is a critical part of mixing as well, which means sometimes your volumes may have to come up and down. So you've got a big kicking in chorus. You want your guitars to come up a few dB. You want the mix to come up. Because think about the mixing is balancing. And in fact, mix engineers used to be called balance engineers because all they had was left, right, and volume up, down. And before that, they were mono. They only had volume up, down. So it used to be all about balancing volume. And I think we get carried away because we think plugins, we think EQ, we think compression, we think reverb and delay. We don't think about mixing. And I think, again, 80-20 rule. I think 80% of a good mix is the balance of well-recorded instruments, and the flavor, the tweaking of the effects, the other things is 20%. And I think people flip that around. They only spend 20% of the time getting the levels about right, and then they throw plugins at it, and then they wonder why it's sounding all muddy and it's sounding all overloaded. It's because they haven't got that basic static mix balance right. So that's my mixing approach, and that's the outline of my basic mixing approach. Hopefully that helps out. Let's have a little beverage and get to the next one. Maury's got a quick one here. What will you use for screen for your new Mac? I will use the screens I'm using here. I've got two Asus of 24-inch LCD, just 1080p LCD screens. So that's what I'll be using for my Mac. So they have DVI and VGA, which is what's coming out of my PC at the moment. But both of them have an HDMI port as well, which will make it very easy because I'll be able to use the HDMI out from the Mac Mini. And then I've got somewhere, because I use a different one on I use this cable creation USB-C, which I could actually use. I could use this on the Mac Mini to go out of USB-C, but I've got the official Apple version of this that I bought when I was first testing it out with the iPad Pro. So I will repurpose that to plug into my Mac Mini, and then I'll have the HDMI out and an additional USB port, which will be handy. So yeah, we'll go with that. Let's go back to the form to the next question because it keeps growing, which is cool. But we'll get through some of these. AJ Vera 169 says, "Can you do more tone vids for mobile users combining apps like Positive Grid or Amplitude products?" Yeah, and that's exactly good timing. This came in before I just mentioned it, but yeah, in the next week I'll be doing some more recording, some more electric guitar recording. So how to get some tones, how to record your electric guitars, and how to use things like Tone Bridge. I haven't touched Amplitude for a while, and I don't own Baccus, but yeah, maybe there are things I need to check out. Let me know. Let me know as we go through. We do that, but yes, definitely something that is in my my plans for the future. Let's go to the next question, which is this one from Kyle Hogan. We'll bring the questions over here. I don't need them over there because I'm not sharing them on the screen. Have you ever considered getting Logic Pro? I upgraded from GarageBand about a year ago and it's much better. Did I answer that already? I think so. That might have been a duplicate, but yes, I talked about an hour ago about that. Oh, look, I can close the form. All right, I'm closing the form. The form is no longer accepting responses. Sorry, I figured I'll do that because we only got 15 minutes left, and we've got 10 more questions in here, and I don't want to do it. There you go. This is working well. I'm liking the form. It makes things a lot more convenient. Let's go to the next question. Patrick Chandler, how you doing, my friend? Patrick says, we have released a few singles through DistroKid. Can those singles be combined with other new or added tracks to release as an EP? Yes, definitely. This is something that does confuse a lot of folks about releasing and distributing music, that you can't release the same song multiple times. So if you have a song, I wrote a song called Hold On, and it was a single. And then I actually included Hold On my EP called Maybe. So you can totally do that. The exact same audio, the exact same song. You don't have to change it. You don't have to do anything. You can include that. You can do it the reverse too. So say you release an album with 10 tracks, you can then release each individual track as a single. And that's not a bad strategy. So let's say you've released a 10-track album through DistroKid. You can then release a single and say every month, like give it a lead in so that you can try and get it on Spotify playlists, or you can try and promote it or do something like that. So yeah, you can do that. So either way, you can do it. The only thing you can't do is release the exact same song as a single more than once. You can even do funky things like do a couple of different EPs with just different combinations of different tracks. I wouldn't overdo it. It'd be confusing for your end listener if like you had 5 different EPs that were just slightly different variations of your other EPs with slightly different tracks. Maybe don't do that. But yeah, you totally can do it. Absolutely. Let's continue on. Question here from Scott says, can I get a private tutorial for programming a 2-hour concert? You can contact me, Pete at studiolivetoday.com if you want to inquire about coaching. I do offer services, but because I'm so busy, I only have like a really small number of clients. I know I hate having to say no to people, especially people that want to hire me to do mixing and coaching. But yeah, if you ask, I can check and we can see. If it's something I think I can help with, then yeah, we can have a chat about that. Let's go back to the form. That's not the form, that's a different form. Let's go to the form and check on the next question. Mark Davis, who I've seen here in the chat. Brand new, few weeks on GarageBand. I used a drum kit plugin for cymbal accent over the built-in GarageBand drummer, recorded and saved. Before I opened the plugin drum kit, I only heard what it sounded like would block beats in place of cymbals. Going forward, do plugins like a drum kit need to be all open in order to hear the cymbals saved on the project? Thank you. I don't really know exactly what the plugin is and what it's actually doing. I used a drum kit plugin. It really depends on the plugin and what it's doing there. There is an issue at the moment on iOS 14.1 that was causing plugins to reset to their default values when you closed and reopened a project. So maybe you've been having that issue. Check your iOS version, and if you're on 14.0 or 14.1, update to 14.2. It seems to have fixed it for most folks that are having issues with plugins. But if you've got more specific details, maybe jump over to the GarageBand users Facebook group. There are a lot of very talented and smart people there that can help you out. If you maybe share a screenshot or two, that may be able to help. Ian Brindle, what's the best iPad for creating music? Mine is only 16 gigabytes. Keep saying not enough space, even when I've deleted all I can to get it, still no space. Very frustrating. Please help. So yeah, it can be tough because music apps and video apps are using more and more space. Like the latest GarageBand update was like a couple of gigabytes if you've got all of the plugins and all of the loops and all the samples and things and little packs installed. So yeah, it can be hard. I've tried to make it easier, and in fact, I'm going to update this in the next few weeks as well, because over on my website, I have my iPad buyer's guide, which looks a little something like this. There you go. So yeah, we've got studiolivetoday.com/iPad. So this is all my ideas. So the best all-rounders there for your iPad selection, best budget or kids or entry level, and best performance. So what you can do there. And what I've got is the iPad comparison chart. So this is handy dandy little guide. Just gonna have to zoom on in. Oh, too much zoom. Yeah, the zoom levels never work. Chrome zoom is crappy. There we go. About there. So what this has is every model of iPad ever, and then all the different specs. And all these ones in grey are the ones that you can use with iOS 14 or iPad OS 14. And you can see here that the latest version of the iPad Air 4th Gen has USB-C, as do all of the Pros up the end here, and all the rest of them have Lightning connections and headphone jacks. Now you can see over here the storage space, the minimum maximum. I would recommend 64 gigabytes is about the sweet spot. 128 if you can swing it, because you're going to just start using so much more space, and it's so easy to run out of space with these devices. The one thing that I'm worried about with my Mac, one moment, the Mac that I've ordered that's coming on Monday, is it's only got 256 gigabytes of storage. And I know that in a few months' time, I'm going to go, curses, Pete, why didn't you just get the 512? But again, I didn't, spending $1,000, spending another $300 just to get another 256 gig of storage. I'm like, I'll just have to juggle. We'll be fine. But this guide will hopefully help you out there, my friend. studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and you can check out the complete guide to iPads for music creation. And again, yeah, that storage space 16 is going to be frustrating. 32, 64, okay. 128, 256, ideal. Let's go. We've got 5 more questions to sneak in under the bar. We'll see if we can do it. Jade Star, is the answer to life really 42? Asking for a dolphin friend. Yes, it is. It's 42 or maybe 37 or maybe 33 or maybe 15. I'm trying to think of other cool numbers. Now I want to go play some roulette. What you had is it the song that you had? Jade Star has a song called "The Answer Is 42." It's a is it a Utensils song? I'm going to see if I can find it. Just after I said I'm not going to waste time and we're going to just answer these questions quickly, I go off on wild tangents, but that's okay. That's what these shows are all about, just relaxing and having a bit of fun and enjoying ourselves. So let's see if we can find this. Answer is 42 Jade Star. I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? I'll struggle here. There it is, Utensils. Yep, the answer is 42. Technology killed the reality star. Yeah, here it is. Now, I'll play a little bit of this just because I like it, and you should go and listen to it and play it. Oh, yeah, this is the official movie trailer, number 3. Okay, so yeah, it's the answer is 42. Let's just play a little touch of this one. It's the name of my film. There you go. Sorry, I'm going off track here, but you do need to check this stuff out. It's super cool. A film by Jade Star. Where's that? Where's that epic music? Come on in. Come on in. Wait, is it, yeah. Yeah, how good is this? Computers now have primary control of critical functions. Computers now have primary control of critical functions. Computers now have primary control. Right. You need to go and watch that, Jade Star. Utensils. The answer is 42. Sorry, got way off track there, but your question prompted me to remember that, and that I haven't listened to that tune for a long time. I used to jog to it back when I used to jog, because it's a cool worked well. Next question. Jay Star, you mentioned singing in the closet. When you came out of the closet, Did your family accept you? Singing Pride. Yes, yes. My family have accepted me since I, don't know, I always don't want to say it, but yeah, that when I came out as someone who wanted to be a content creator, it felt a little that way. That yeah, trying to explain to people that. Okay, I hate to draw the comparison because I know it's nothing like it, but please take this for what it is, which is just a bit of something amusing. But yeah, when I came out as a vegetarian, I know it's shocking, right? Oh, don't quick unsubscribe. And also as someone that wanted to be a content creator and not have a real job, yeah, that was tough enough. Like finding, like talking about that with people that were just like, but why? Don't you want a real job? Don't you want to support your family? I'm like, oh, it's fine. I just want to do this thing. Yeah, it did give me at least some level of empathy because I can only imagine the challenges. So I know you meant that it's fun and it is fun, but yes, thankfully we live in the future where content creators are not. No. Very good. It is tempting for fun questions. Bye, Mark. See you, Mark. It is too tempting for fun questions. And please have fun because that's what we're here for, right? We're here to have some fun. People play guitar in tiled bathrooms. Absolutely. Use the reverb. Like I sing in the closet so that people can't hear me. I hide my singing. No, I do it actually because of the resonance, because you don't get the early reflections and you don't get the reverb and stuff going on. Got me way off track, Jade, after I went and played your song. I did wonder when I said, yeah, I sing in the closet. That's why I say like walk in robe or covered more often than not. Next one here. QB. Hello to QB. Penguin time. Have you listened to any electronic music? If so, what are your favourite songs? So, I don't listen to a lot of electronic music. When I have in the past, it's been more mashup versions. So, things like the Crystal Method, the Prodigy, basically bands that I don't listen to a lot of purely electronic music. It's more electronic music that has a bit of vocals or a bit of a hip hop vibe or a bit of a rock vibe over the top. But I like electronic sounds and I like well crafted electronic music, a la the stuff that QB makes. And funnily enough, back in the day, back in the early demo scene, so we're talking the 90s, and for those who were around in the 90s, there used to be a demo scene where people would code demos, which were basically just graphical demonstrations of what you could do. You'd code them in like assembly language, and you'd make like 3D balls float around. And at the same time, there was kind of this electronic music that went along with it that was usually using mod files, so trackers like Scream Tracker and Fast Tracker on Amigas and Atari STs and eventually on the PC. So I actually listened to a lot of music by, there was a crew called The Future Crew, and there was a couple of artists, one called Purple Motion, one called I can't remember now, Scraven? Anyway, so yeah, these were the people that I dug back in the days. That was the electronic music I listened to, was people that were using samples and their computers to create these really intricate, amazing arrangements of electronic music. So I say all that to say, no, not lately. I haven't done. Bathrooms have the best reverb. There you go. Bathrooms shave the best reverb. Yes, you should probably also shave in the bathroom, but yes, bathrooms have some good reverb. Yeah, Prodigy, Fat of the Land, one of the best 90s electronic albums. Is that the album cover that has the cool like close up of a crab? Is that one? I remember having that CD in my car for the longest time. So I think it is that one. Let's just see. Prodigy, Fat of the Land, not Far of the Land, Pete. It'll find it. Yeah, it is. It's this one. It's the album cover that has the crab, and this just basically was the 90s for me. Seeing this, being at a party and seeing someone with this album cover, you're like, yeah, we're gonna rock some Prodigy, like that. That's a cool album cover, right? The crab going at it, doing his thing with like the blurred background. So cool. Anyway, album art for the win, hey? Yep. That's it. That's the one. Yeah, the Chemical Brothers too. Yeah, I didn't mind the Chemical Brothers back in the day. Yeah, like I say, Chemical Brothers, Crystal Method, Prodigy, that kind of 90s crossover stuff was pretty cool. And there was one Black Alicia's album I really loved, which was kind of electronic rap, hip hop kind of stuff. And I mean, like Beastie Boys, I guess you could call, like a lot of their stuff was using like the 808s and electronic samples and things. So yeah, there's that. I'm looking at my this list of topics here, and we've had so many questions that I haven't actually touched it. for the whole show, but that's okay. It's supposed to be an Ask Me Anything. It's supposed to be you asking me the questions. Like this one from... Got 4 questions to go. If you've got a question in the form, we'll get to it. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for any more questions. Isaac says, do you recommend Garage... Oh, so you have this in the chat. Do you recommend GarageBand for orchestrations? I recently did the OG Danny Elfman Spider-Man theme, and it sounded pretty good. Yes, I do. And we already talked about that. But yeah, GarageBand is good for all sorts of music composition, whether it's live music, guitars, vocals, whether it's electronic music, loops and samples, whatever, virtual instruments. Yeah, GarageBand can do it all. Isaac Garcia again says, how long have you been playing guitar? I've been playing guitar, so I've told this story before. I've been playing guitar since I first started sneaking into my brother's bedroom when he would go out and playing his guitar. So he owned a Rockabilly Pink Stratocaster copy that he bought one day because he really wanted to buy a guitar, and the only ones they had in stock were pink. So, like me with my phone cover, he rocked the pink. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of pink in your life. Jade, careful. Sorry. So he had the pink guitar, and I would sneak into his room. Not really sneak, but he'd go out because he was teenager, 18, 19 years old. So I must have been 7 years younger, 12, 13. So I was sort of end of primary school, start of high school, and I would go in and just start playing. So I learned how to play an A chord, then I learned how to play an E chord, then I learned how to play a D chord, and then I just started jamming on Gloria, yeah, all those sort of things. And I would just practice till literally my fingers would bleed. So he'd go out, and I'd go to his room, get the guitar, play for like 2-3 hours. And I didn't even have a pick, so I was like strumming with my fingers, and they were getting all bleedy and stuff. And then I just kept doing it. And then it wasn't until I was about 15 or 16, and it was like chatting with friends, and they were playing guitars, and we're like, hey, we should start a band. I'm like, yeah, we should start a band. I better buy a guitar. And that's where I bought my first guitar, which I will hopefully always own, which is over there, my Epiphone Les Paul. So that was about a $700 guitar, which for a 16-year-old or 15-year-old, however old I was, is a big investment. So bought that guitar, and then started playing, and then grew the hair long. Played a lot of Nirvana covers and Pearl Jam covers, and then the rest is history. So to answer your question, the simple version is about close to 30 years now that I've been, is that right? Yeah, close to 30 years. But the caveat there is that there was a big gap. There was a big gap in between where I didn't really pick up a guitar for close to 15 years. So I played in bands in a band in my teens and into sort of my early 20s. Then, it went off work, jobs, married, kids. It's familiar to anyone? Yeah. And then it's only been the last 5 years that I've actually got back into recording, playing guitar, creating music. So there was a bit of a gap in the middle there, but now I am back and making more music than ever. And of course, sharing it with videos here on the channel. What about you? Any guitarists out there? When did you start? What age were you when you first picked up a guitar? So I was about 12. What age were you when you first picked up a guitar? It'd be a good thing to ask the audience here. Next question. We've got 2 more to go. This one is from Chris. Says, hi Pete, I use a modeler and want the sound as it is in GarageBand without an amp from GarageBand. I played into GarageBand with iRig. Is there a possibility to get the original modeler sound? Thank you so much. So yeah, regardless of what you're using, if you're using any external device and you want it to come into GarageBand, the key is just set yourself up a audio recorder track and make sure it's clean. So don't set it up on a guitar amp. Don't set it up on a guitar or a vocal track. Just go into audio recorder, go into fun because Apple, and go to clean. And that will set you up a brand new, fresh, spanking clean track. Then just plug in through your iRig, plug out of your modeler or plug out of your whatever device, whatever you're using. If you're using a pedal or if you're using an amp modeler or something, I've got a little one down there that I don't use very much anymore, but I should play around with it because I do get this question often. Maybe doing guitar stuff next week, we'll talk about it. But yeah, you just plug it straight out into the clean setting and then record. And then it'll capture whatever is coming out without any processing, without any effects, without anything else there. missed the wrong one. Benjamin says, my story is nearly identical to yours, Pete. If you start selling coffee mugs that say Pete Shots is my spirit animal, I'll buy one. Funnily enough, I was going to mention it here today, but I asked a question over on Create, Record, Release, and also on the community tab here on YouTube, which is, what 3-word phrase would you put on a t-shirt that best describes your approach to music? And my goodness, there were some fun answers on there. So if you're not a member of Create, Record, Release, or if you haven't checked out the community tab, if you're on a mobile device, just go to my channel and tap community. We do some poll questions and some fun questions there. From time to time, it's always a good, fun time there. Alrighty, Andy Goldsby said he was 14 when he first started. My first band was with Stu back in 98. So you've been playing with Stu since 98, and you guys still tolerate each other? That's a fair effort, boys. Fair effort. Jack of all, master of none. I hear you, my friend. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, exactly. I've never had the patience. I see these people that sit down and like practice guitar. Back in the day, I was a teenager. Well, I was preteen. I was bored. I needed something to do, so I just played guitar. And I didn't have any money. And I didn't have any obligations, so I could do that. But yeah, it's amazing how time goes by, and you don't have the time to do the things. But then when you get there, you can. Benedict Stewart started at 17, been playing for 38 years. Tolerate is a fair assessment. There you go. You've been tolerating each other as friends. Oh no, we love each other from the bottom of our heart. I know. I absolutely know that. You didn't see this, but when I interviewed Andy and Stu, they were like blowing kisses at each other and across the screen. It was delightful. But then, they were very professional when the camera started rolling. Alrighty. What do you think of... What do I think of King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard? I don't know what they are. So I don't think much of them. But if they're cool, tell me. Tell me that they're cool. Tom Rochelle, don't remember exactly when I first played guitar, probably 10 or 11. Been playing keyboard since I was 4 or 5. Yeah, so my first instrument, I'll give you a quick run. I know we're over time, but we've only got one question to go. Quick rundown of my instrument. I've said this before, but for those that are new to the channel, I learnt piano. That was the first instrument I learnt probably around age 8 or 9, started doing piano. Mrs. Sadu, my teacher, would yell at me most weeks because I never did my theory, and I just was not into it. Didn't want to do the Suzuki graded method stuff. I found it super boring. Then tried another piano teacher that was better when I was probably 11, 12, and just started playing by ear, which was way much more fun. I also learnt viola in primary school, so when I was 10, 11, and I was voted the #1 viola player in my primary school because I was the only viola player in my primary school. Haven't touched a viola since. And then I played clarinet of all things in high school, and I was awful at the clarinet. I just hated the clarinet. That thing, I couldn't stand just the reed on my tongue. And it's gross. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever be a wind or a brass player because it's kind of gross. Bad enough with you singing and you're spitting all over your microphone, like having to have a thing. If something has a spit valve, if something has something called a spit valve, that's already gross. Anyway, so that was my experience. And then the guitar thing was where it really kind of took off. And I only started singing because I just thought I should sing. We needed someone to sing our songs. Russ says I've been playing mouse since 17. There you go. You can play the mouse, exactly. Infraction says I was 54 just 2.5 years ago. Oh, okay, yeah. Exactly. Get started late in life. And that's the thing. If there's anything that I want to do, it's probably learn some strings. If I'm going to do anything, I'll probably do some learn how to play violin because I did viola for a while, and because I do sort of ballady, soft rocky kind of folksy stuff. Yeah, having some strings that I could play myself without having to hassle Dan Baker or someone else would actually be a lot of fun. All right, let's finish up. We got last question on the form. I'm loving the form. It's been so much easier. Benjamin Kelsey. Or, hey, what a great relevant question. If you could magically be an expert at any musical instrument, which one would it be? I think I just answered it. It would be the violin, because playing really cool violin. Like violin just looks like the sort of instrument that, it's got expression, it's got feeling, it's guitar adjacent, like the fretting, no frets, but the fingering and the strings. kind of similar. You can pluck as well as bow. I don't know about rosin that you put on there, and maintaining it all would be a bit of a pain in the butt. But yeah, I think being able to play the violin. What about you? There you go. There's your final question to put out there for the folks that are watching here live. We'll finish up. I'll tell you what's happening tomorrow here on the show and around the channel. But yeah, let me know if there's an instrument. What would be your dream instrument that you don't already play? Maybe that you could just be an expert at overnight. Oh, it's getting warm in here. I'm looking forward to getting the Panasonic blowing cool air on me again because yeah, I couldn't have it on because it was getting too sweaty. Cody Walsh says piano for sure. Jim says I've been playing tons of mandolin and piano. There you go. So yeah, let me know. Benjamin said I'd say piano for myself. Might as well not take a shortcut with guitar after nearly 30 years of investment. Yeah, right. Piano's good. Like I wouldn't actually. That's a good point. As much as I'd like to learn string, because I don't know the violin at all, so I'd like to learn it because it would be something brand new. Being able to play the piano like some of my piano heroes, like Tim Friedman from the Whitlams, like Ben Folds, Elton, Billy, that would be cool. To be able to sit down and just be able to play in any key and just make it sound really cool would actually be good. So maybe the violin. Just get a violin VST. There you go. Go with the plug-in. Go with the plug-in. Stu, it's getting late, so you boys are getting naughty. I know what Andy plays with every night. PlayStation. Welcome to the Stu and Andy show. You guys should definitely do the Stu and Andy show. I would watch that. I would watch that for sure. And yes, there is a violin in GarageBand, which I do like playing around with. I do play around with that. Kazoo! There you go. Rocking the kazoo. Absolutely. All right. That was our final question. So this has been a blast. Thank you so much for being here on the show. Thanks for all of your questions. Thanks for helping me test the form. And thank you for all of your contributions to the show. What do we got coming up? Well, what don't we have coming up? I need to go and rest because tomorrow is going to be a big day. We're kicking off with Home Studio Q&A. So yes, we answered a lot of questions here today, but we'll be jumping into more of the technical music questions, the home studio, the home recording questions, the mobile recording, the gear, anything in between. And we're talking cables too. So our feature topic will be cables. So we'll run through a crash course in cable goodness. Then the exciting stuff happens. So straight after Home Studio Q&A, Glenn Clark, a friend from New Zealand across the Tasman, is premiering his new album. And I've heard some of the songs on this album. It is going to be epic. His song Bruised, which we played on Your Music Live yesterday, so good. Video fantastic. Audio brilliant. Glenn Clark is the man. So he'll be premiering that. Jade Starr will then be interviewing Glenn to find out how he put the album together, how he creates videos, all of that goodness. So that'll be coming up after that one. And then it'll be the happy hour. So then I'll be doing my by request happy hour. We'll be hanging out here. We'll have a couple of beers. We'll play a couple of songs. It'll be a good old time. So join me for that. Join me tomorrow. All kicks off at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. for our folks up in Greenwich Mean Time, and bright and early 7 a.m. for folks over in Melbourne, Sydney, the east coast of Australia, and your time equivalent. If you want to find out some more about the channel, about how to get in touch, about how to support the channel, head over to studiolivetoday.com. If you got some value out of this one, had some fun, please hit the like button. That helps the YouTube little robots know that, hey, people are digging Pete's stuff, and it means I should do more of these in the future. Thank you for being here. It's been a heap of fun. Please be kind to yourselves. Be kind to others. Keep on rocking, and I'll see you real soon.